Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry.
Don't take me home, please don't take me home. I just don't want to go to work. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's episode 10 of the Josh's Dartistry podcast. A very warm welcome to you all, and thanks for downloading this episode. Episode 10, double figures, we've made it, lads. Here we are, and what a bumper show it's going to be. Obviously, we've got a hell of a lot to discuss off the back of the PDC World Championships that concluded a few days ago, and we have our winner. Obviously, no surprise to you all, Michael van Gerwen is the winner. We will be discussing that in length, no doubt. But before we do that, let's have a little chat with my co-hosts. On my right-hand side, the man himself, Josh Gorton. How are you, Josh?
I'm very well, thank you, John. How are you?
I'm okay, mate. I'm okay. Christmas time. Let's put darts on the back burner for a brief moment. Christmas time. How was your Christmas?
Well, a bit of a weird one this year. I mean, obviously, I was busy with the darts over Christmas for Sky and myself, but I was unfortunately laid low with a virus over Christmas, John.
Poor old Josh, he was a bit ill over Christmas, weren't you? And we all heard about it on social media. I remember reading on Christmas Day that you were ill in your pit.
I know, and I missed out on 2 days at Ali Pali on the 27th and 28th, but I was fighting fit for the end of the tournament. I had a little bit of a resurgence, and I saw it through to the end, and it was a great event.
Well, it's good to see you back, Josh. Nice to have you alongside me. And, of course, on my left-hand side, Statsman himself, it's Neil Connor. How are you, Neil?
Yeah, very well, thank you, John.
Good. Same question to you, buddy. How was your Christmas?
Yeah, it was good, thanks. I always take time off work over Christmas, so a bit of a sporting bonanza. So I managed to get to Ali Pali twice as well.
Twice, yes. Once with my good self.
Yep.
And then you popped up there and had a bit of a touch with tickets and managed to get yourself a second night up there.
Second night, I was VIP.
Lovely. I'm surprised they let you in. You're obviously doing this show now. You're a face in the darting community, and some of your opinions on here can be a little bit outlandish. I'm surprised they let you into the VIP section.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised myself, but I was there, and it was wonderful.
And a clean bill of health for yourself over Christmas.
All
now?
good, thank you. Yep.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, I've had a busy old Christmas time myself. No illness, thankfully. The kids haven't been absolutely fantastic, but I had a good Christmas myself. Nice and busy. Some of us still have to work over Christmas. Not like you, Neil, who puts his feet up effectively for 2 weeks and just watches sport on television and bets all day long. So some of us had to put the hard yards in. But yeah, what a fantastic December and early part of January it was. Darts every day, Neil. Afternoon sessions, evening sessions. Hard to keep up with sometimes.
Yeah, and I think with the expanded field this year, there was a lot more darts to watch. So yeah, very enjoyable. Obviously a bumper football festive package as well. Some very good games over this period as well, so been enjoyable.
So obviously lots to discuss, but I think the first thing we should probably touch on is the main elephant in the room when it comes to this podcast. Let's talk about Man City 2, Liverpool 1.
Can we not talk about Liverpool 5, Arsenal 1?
No.
Well, I'm putting myself in the firing line because as we're recording this, Spurs are currently away at Tranmere in the FA Cup for your Friday night football, and I'm on a bit of a hide into nothing here because if we win, you two will tell me that we should have won, and if we lose, I'll get an absolute hammering.
Yep.
No dressing it up. Okay, let's move on from football. So yeah, we're going to have a lengthy discussion, I would imagine, Josh, about the World Championships. We'll obviously talk about Michael's win and his route to the final, but I think we should also touch on some of the other players, perhaps in the sort of upper echelons and how they fared in the tournament, Josh.
Yeah, there's a number of shocks in the tournament this year, John. 9 of the world's top 16 were dumped out before Christmas, including 5 of the world's top 8. So it was a World Championship of shocks this year.
And we also had the added bonus this year of the 2 female competitors, and I'm sure we'll be having a discussion about them. We've got the BDOs upcoming as well. They start tomorrow, I believe, Saturday. The BDO World Championships. I saw some photos on social media of the stage being set up and ready to go. So looking forward to that. Neil, will we be having an updated look at the BDO odds?
I've got those. I've got those saved, so we'll discuss those a bit later.
Excellent stuff. Looking forward to the BDOs. And then that will probably move us nicely after we finish the World Championship discussion to move into the much controversial Premier League lineup, Josh.
Controversy? What controversy, John?
I couldn't possibly say. But obviously, Barry and Laura announced the Premier League lineup straight after the final the other day. But for me, it was the lineup I was expecting, to be honest. We'll go into it in some depth in a little while. It was the lineup I was pretty much expecting, but there has been a bit of an outcry on social media from certain places and from Neil as well.
No, absolutely. I think one very debatable pick, and I'm sure we'll discuss that in more detail.
I think Daryl Gurney deserves to be
exactly. Yeah,
I have no problem with Daryl Gurney being in there.
Okay, let's save that for a little bit later on. Josh, you have had a chat this evening with darting legend and friend of the show, Wayne Mardle. Is that right?
Yep, I have indeed. John spoke to Wayne earlier, got his thoughts on the World Championship itself. Obviously, we mentioned a lot of the big names struggling. We got his thoughts on whether that was down to the expanded format. We looked at some of the youngsters who emerged and performed superbly. Obviously touched on Michael van Gerwen's victory and had a little discussion about the Premier League. So that'll be coming up later on.
Fantastic. Always look forward to hearing from Wayne. I'm sure that'll be an absolutely cracking interview. We're going to preview some of the events coming up. Obviously, we've already mentioned the BDO Worlds. But Josh, I think the next PDC event coming up is the Masters. Is that right?
Yep, taking place in Milton Keynes from February the 1st to the 3rd. Obviously, the world's top 16, the elite. That should be a great event.
Excellent. Regular followers of our show, you'll be well familiar with our interactive section, Lord of the Board. Unfortunately, because we've had such a busy December, Josh obviously really, really busy with Sky and his work on the darts, and my work schedule, and Neil too busy to get off the sofa during December. Unfortunately, we haven't got a Lord of the Board recording done. We will definitely have one done for the next show. If you're interested in taking part in Lord of the Board, do get in contact via the usual mediums, because we'd love to get you on and get you recorded. So looking forward to bringing back Lord of the Board for episode 11, but we won't have that in this podcast, but that won't matter because we've got so much to discuss anyway. I'm sure we won't miss that too much, and then we're going to move steadily into Neil's favourite section, a challenge, Josh.
Yep, and we are bringing back an old favourite tonight, and that's all I'm willing to say at this point.
Oh my God, that could mean anything. Carnage will ensue. After we've done challenge, Josh, we'll have a look at any news items that are hanging around. Some good news stories for us this evening, Josh.
Yeah, some very topical ones, obviously about the World Championship itself. Also, we've got European Q School that's going on at the moment, so I'll be bringing it up to date with the latest news from there. Plenty to discuss.
Excellent. And finally, we will end the show, as always, with Josh's Twitter chatter. Your questions have been coming in. Josh, you put a tweet out a couple of days ago asking if anyone had any questions for us. We've had a bumper crop of questions, haven't we?
Yeah, I think 8 or 9 already. I mean, obviously, there's so much to debate recently. Obviously, the World Championship just finished, the Premier League lineup, so plenty to discuss and answer later on.
Cool. So we look forward to all of that. Don't forget, you can get in contact with us via Twitter. You can follow us at Josh's Dartistry. Don't forget, you can also find us on Facebook. You can also go on Josh's website. That's www.joshisdartistry.com. Josh, I believe you uploaded an article yesterday regarding European Q School.
Yeah, the opening day, Neil Zonneveld, 20-year-old Dutchman, was the first man to win his tour card. So yeah, I updated that yesterday.
Nice one. So yeah, check out Josh's website. As I said, that's www.joshisdartistry.com. Don't forget, you can download the podcast. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Stitcher. You can also stream the podcast. Josh always uploads the podcast to his website. And we also have a YouTube channel where we always upload a video version of the podcast for those of you who like to find us on YouTube. With all that said, let's have a good show. And Happy New Year to everybody. You're listening to the Josh's Dartistry podcast. Don't forget, you can check us out on Facebook, the Josh's Dartistry page. You can also follow us on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry. And you can also go to our website, www.joshisdartistry.com, for all the latest news, blogs and information on the world of darts. Don't forget, you can also call us and leave us a message on our voicemail box. That's 07739 738 329. That's 07739 738 329. Call our voicemail box, leave us a message, leave us a question, and we may play it on the show. Now back to the show. Right then, gents, let's get straight into it. No messing around. PDC World Championships. I'm sure everybody knows by now Michael van Gerwen is our winner. Josh, talk to us about his route to the final.
Yeah, well, off your Michael van Gerwen, it didn't start smoothly for him. In his opening match, he faced Alan Tabben, former World Championship quarter-finalist. I think we all remember now, he got showered with beer on his walk-on, didn't he?
Absolutely disgraceful scenes to kick off his tournament, in my opinion.
I think it was really poor, yeah, but I think testament to Michael's mental strength that he didn't let it affect his performance. He still averaged 102.59, really solid display. Averaged 110 in the opening set, so he showed no ill effects. Played well there, because Alan Tabben performed well there, and he's quite an experienced player.
I think he came across quite emotional in his post-match interview after that match.
He was, because I think obviously he didn't want to let the incident affect him, but I think afterwards he kind of all sunk in what had happened, and obviously it's not a pleasant experience for anyone. So,
Neil, thoughts on the beer throwing incident?
No, it's out of order, but based on our experience when we went to the evening session on the 23rd, it's not surprising because we saw beer being thrown.
Yeah, we did. It did get a little bit out of hand in places. What worries me about that kind of thing, and I don't want to dwell on it too much because it's not what the World Championships is all about. But what worries me is with the some behaviour like that of beer throwing. All it will mean long term is that fans such as ourselves and our loyal listeners will get even less access, and it will just be restricted. You won't be able to get as close to the players as you were able to at the Worlds. I mean, when they're doing their walk on, if you're in the venue and you're in that vicinity, you can get so close to them. You can literally touch them, and they come down the aisle and they shake hands with everybody. And if stuff like that continues, they're not going to give you the opportunity to get nice and close.
No, absolutely. It was just bang out of order. And as I say, I think the evening sessions are particularly boisterous.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably as a result of some people staying all day.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will improve going forward.
Yeah, fortunately we didn't see any repeats of that kind of behaviour, so well done to the security for dealing with it so well. Josh, carry on. Where were we? Michael van Gerwen.
Yeah, obviously beat Alan Tabben in his opening match 3-1, then faced former World Youth Champion Max Hopp in the third round, which was a tough game. Max Hopp played well, but Van Gerwen was just too strong, ran out a 4-1 winner with 101 average. Then he played Adrian Lewis in the last 16, which was a real huge tussle. I mean, Lewis performed well at the Ali Pali, got 2 good wins over Ted Evans and Darius Labanauskas, and Lewis played well, particularly in the last few sets against Van Gerwen, but Michael was superb, 108 average, his highest of the competition.
Neil, you and I were at Ali Pali for the Lewis Labanauskas game, weren't we?
Yeah, it was a bit of a no contest, really. I think Labanauskas had he'd done his bit in taking out.
He'd done his bit,
taking out RVB. And sometimes I think when players rise to the occasion like that, it's difficult to reproduce the same form.
Yeah. So Labanauskas lost to Lewis, so that meant Lewis faced Van Gerwen, as you said, Josh.
Yeah, and I feel like say Michael produced his best performance of the tournament against Adrian Lewis, averaging 108. Lewis got it back to 2-1 and looked like he was going to level the contest, but Van Gerwen fired in 2-11 darts to go 3-1 up, and that was the pivotal moment. So really impressive performance from Michael. Then he played Ryan Joyce in the quarterfinals. Ryan obviously knocked out Simon Whitlock and James Wade en route to the quarterfinals on his debut, performed superbly.
Yeah, good tournament for Joyce.
He's a very solid player. He's had a good year on the Pro Tour, but he just didn't have the scoring power to live with Van Gerwen, and Michael ran out a very comfortable 5-1 winner to set up that semi-final against Gary Anderson, the game we'd all been waiting for.
I think they were calling it the people's final in the build-up, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone wanted to see Michael and Gary collide. Gary really had to produce some great darts to get there. I mean, he survived 2 7-set epics against Jermaine Wattimena and Chris Dobie. He survived a match start against Wattimena, fought back from 3-2 down against Dobie, but the semi-final just fell flat. Gary struggled to find his form, largely due to the pressure put on him by Michael van Gerwen, who was averaging 110 for the opening 4 sets. But Gary just never got going, and Michael ran out a very comfortable 6-1 winner.
Neil, I'm not going to lie, Gary Anderson, I'm a little bit worried about him at the moment. I'm a little bit worried about his state of mind when I hear from him in post-match interviews, particularly over the Worlds, but also in the build-up to other recent tournaments. It doesn't seem to be in... Listen, I'll have my hands up if I'm wrong, and Gary, if you're listening, you want to correct me, I'll take that on the chin, absolutely. But he doesn't seem to be in his happy place at the moment.
No, he doesn't. And I think, well, I'm guessing, but physically he's had some issues, I think, again, with his back. Similar to the same time last year where he was struggling with his back, and he started the Premier League first few weeks with back trouble. So I think that's playing on his mind. And when you're not at your peak condition, it's difficult to produce the form. And I think we only really saw Gary in his quarter-final produce the kind of darts that we expect from him. And I think because he improved his performance in the quarter-final from the previous rounds, we were all hopeful that it was going to be a real ding-dong encounter with Van Gerwen, but unfortunately it never really happened.
Josh, you're a member of the press with obviously your work for Sky. I noted Gary was getting quite agitated with some of the questions that were being asked of him by one or two journalists in some of his post-match analysis. What did you make of his mood?
I think obviously Gary came off. I think the game in question was after he beat Jermaine Watamina.
Yeah.
And I think he came off stage and he was really in pain with his back. And obviously you sit back in he did his interviews with Sky.
Yeah.
Then he did his interviews with the PDC. And then obviously you sit down in the press room with all the other journalists. And I think obviously he was getting asked the same questions over and over again. He was in pain. I think he was just a little bit irritable.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was in much better form after beating Chris Dobie. So I think it was just an isolated incident with Gary. And I think he was in pain and a little bit frustrated. That was all.
Do you think Gary's got some decisions to make about his future in the sport? I mean, he's always been one in interviews that said, he's not going to go on for years and years and years. Probably, not playing darts at the same age that Taylor was. But, do you see his continued involvement in the sport?
I do for the short term. I mean, he's suggested by the time he gets to the age of 50, he'll give up, and he's 48 now.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't play on the European Tour. He just focuses on the TV tournaments and the Pro Tour, and he said he's going to continue that and take a little bit of time off in 2019, spend some time with the family. He's got 2 young children, so
it is the back, isn't it?
It's the back. Yeah, that's the issue. I mean, obviously, as Neil mentioned, he struggled. That's why he lost to Phil Taylor in the quarterfinals last year. He struggled at the start of the Premier League. We thought that his back issues had been resolved, but obviously they materialised again and hampered his assault this year.
It's a tricky one, the back. You need to find the right person that's going to help you shake it off permanently, and that can take a long time. If you look at Tiger Woods, spent years trying to fix his back up, and eventually, thankfully, he's managed to do it, and he's successful again. So hopefully, Gary will sort it out, and we'll see him back at the top of his form.
Excellent stuff. So that was the semi-final versus Gary Anderson. So then Van Gerwen moved into the final against Michael Smith. Now I have to give credit here, Josh, to our interviewee from our last episode, Jackie Oakley, when you asked her to perhaps give us a name of somebody that could divide the top 2 and maybe force their way into proceedings. Jackie, fair play to her. She threw out the name Michael Smith, and she was correct. He made it all the way to the final, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people did tip Michael Smith from the bottom half of the draw because he was in the same side as Rob Cross and Peter Wright, who were the top 2 seeds on that bottom half, and both came into the tournament struggling. Obviously, Peter Wright was knocked out in the second round. Rob knocked out in the last 16. But Michael Smith, the highest ranked player he played en route to the final was Big John Henderson, who's number 23 in the world. But fair play to Smith, he dealt with every task thrown at him, and there was a lot of pressure on him because he was favourite in every single match up to the final. And that semi-final against Nathan Aspinall was a brilliant game of darts, 105 average for Smith. Unfortunately, he couldn't quite produce his best in the final. He had opportunities early on. I think he had actually darts to win 5 of the last 6 sets against Van Gerwen.
Yeah.
But obviously, it was his first World Championship final, incredibly pressurised situation. He played well, but not to the level we'd seen in the previous rounds, and Michael van Gerwen did a professional job and ran out a very convincing 7-3 winner.
I noted Michael getting a little bit agitated with himself on the oche when he was missing his doubles or getting in the 5 bed or the 1 bed instead of the 20. You could see he was quite annoyed with himself at times, Josh.
Well, I think he knew and realised that Michael van Gerwen wasn't playing at the top of his game. I mean, we saw him against Adrian Lewis and Gary Anderson play supreme darts, but Michael van Gerwen wasn't playing to that standard in the final. I mean, he averaged 102, which is still extremely good for us mere mortals, but for Michael, that's not... I think Michael Smith would have taken that before the game, but Smith just missed too many key doubles. I think he got back into it from 4-0 down. Credit to him because he could have folded. His first world final, he could have capitulated, but he didn't. He kept fighting, kept battling, but obviously just too many missed opportunities for him, and Van Gerwen took advantage.
Yeah, I don't think you can give Michael van Gerwen the starts that Anderson gave him in the semi-final before he started to play a little bit better, and then what Smith gave him in the final. As you say, Smith did dig deep, and I think he'll benefit from the experience.
Neil, I was going to say, where will it leave his career long term?
I think he'll kick on from this point. To be honest, I was really impressed with his performances throughout. I was impressed the way he dug in the final. In the semi-final, he was asked questions, and I think we should make a mention of Nathan Aspinall and what a terrific,
brilliant
world championship he had. And he asked questions of Michael Smith that Michael Smith rose to himself. So I think he'll benefit from the experience. I think he's a very natural darts player with the capability to go on and win that title in the future.
We often hear banded around everyone saying, "Oh, he's a future world champion. He can." But I think Michael Smith really is. I think it's his destiny. He spoke about it before. He felt it was his destiny to win it. Obviously, it didn't happen this year, but he's now reached 3 TV finals in 2018. He's matured so much as a player over the last 18 months, and I think he will be world champion in the very near future.
And I think if you looked at his body language in the final, it was one of frustration, because I think he felt that he was capable of beating Van Gerwen and winning the world title.
I felt very sorry for him on Twitter after the match. He tweeted from his account saying he felt like he'd let everybody down. I felt so sorry for him when
he
wrote
didn't.
that.
Yeah, he didn't let anyone down. But Michael's his own harshest critic, really. I think he did superbly well to reach the final, so he should be proud of himself. But obviously, coming off the stage, you're disappointed in the heat at the moment.
Premier League final, World Championship final.
Yeah, World Series final as well.
Yeah, exactly. He's going in the right direction without doubt.
Yeah, well done to Michael. He's had a great year. But Van Gerwen wins, and that only cements his position at the top of the tree, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Michael, it sounds ridiculous to say. We were talking about him not being in the best of form coming into this tournament. He still won 18 individual titles in 2018, but he hadn't enjoyed the dominance in the majors that he had in previous years. I think he'd won 3 individual majors prior to the World, which was his lowest return since 2014. But he handled the pressure so well, Michael van Gerwen. Every single game he averaged over 100. He only dropped in the entire tournament. He only dropped 8 sets, which is pretty imperious.
Three of them in the final. So.
Yeah, when you consider he played Adrian Lewis, Gary Anderson, and Michael Smith, I mean, and hopefully Max Hopp as well. He's won a few titles this year.
And every one of those games, he started like an absolute train.
Yeah.
And when his form did dip towards the end of particularly the semi-final and the final, it was difficult to know whether he'd become a little bit complacent or he was actually feeling the pressure because the other his opponents were playing better at that time. So he just blitzed people early in matches and no one could live with it. No,
fair play to him. He performed very well throughout the entire tournament. As you said, only dropping the 8 sets. And you have to take your hat off to him. He's a superb darts player, Josh, and I think he'll be here for many years to come.
Yeah, I mean, roughly Michael said he's never going to play as long as like Phil Taylor or Raymond van Barnard way into his 50s, but he's already a 3-time world champion now. As you say, he's not going to go anywhere. He's going to be at the top of the game for a number of years, and I think we could well see him win I think in the next 3 or 4 years we could see him win 2 or 3 more.
Just before we move on and have a chat about a few other people's performances, for those who listened to episode 9, they may remember that we launched our prediction competition for all 3 World Championships, the PDC, the BDO Men's and the BDO Women's. Josh, did we get some people contacting us on Twitter and predicting Michael van Gerwen?
We did, yeah. I think we got about 18 or 19 responses in total. I'd say around half of those predicted Michael van Gerwen, but we had a lot of people predicting Gary Anderson. So we've still got quite a few still in contention.
Just sitting around this table, if you predicted Michael van Gerwen to win the PDC World Championships, say I. I.
Yeah, congratulations, John. You predicted the world number 1 would win the tournament.
Neil, I don't think you got that right, did you?
I went for Gary.
You went for Anderson, and Josh, you went for Anderson as well.
I did, but I said after the second round, I tipped Michael after that. But obviously,
after the second round.
We weren't asking for an explanation.
No.
It was a yes or no.
I did predict Michael to beat Gary in the semis, but obviously before the tournament, I did fancy Gary.
I am the only person around this table who tipped Michael to win.
In fairness, Neil, we didn't know about Gary's back issues, did we, before the tournament?
No, we didn't.
Here we go. Absolute nonsense. Anyway, so I lead the World Championship predictions, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with the BDOs. I think you both went for Durrant in the BDO. I went for Durrant as well. And in the ladies section,
I went for Anastasia.
You went for Anastasia. Neil, you went for Lisa Ashton, and I went for Fallon Sherrock. So
three different names there.
So all to play for, and it'll be interesting to see how we get on, as well as the remaining JDP listeners, for those of them who aren't out. Did they submit their tournament averages as well?
They did indeed,
just in case we needed that as a tiebreaker. Excellent stuff. Nice one. Okay, let's have a look at a few other things that took place during the World Championships. Let's look at some of the early round shocks, Josh, from sort of players in and around the sort of top 12. Let's first have a look at Peter Wright. How did Peter get on?
Peter was beaten in the second round by Spanish star Tony Alsina, which was a real shock. I mean, Alsina had never beaten Peter Wright prior to the tournament. We've mentioned before, Snakebite wasn't coming into this tournament in great form. I think in the previous 4 TV tournaments, he hadn't gone beyond the quarterfinals. But to see the world number 3 dumped out in the opening game was a huge shock, regardless.
Yeah, shame for Peter. Obviously, his continued involvement in a big tournament like the World Championships always maintains people's interest, mainly because he's a character in his walk-on and so on and so forth. But it was a surprise to see him exit so early, Neil. Yeah,
it was, and I don't think he was alone in that. And sometimes it happens in all sports that once one goes,
bit of a domino effect.
There is a bit of a domino effect. Now, whether that's because the lesser players feel that they've got more of a chance and feel more confident, or because the top players start to feel more pressure, I don't know. But it happens quite often, and Wright was early. Josh's favourite was close closely followed him, I believe.
The following night, yeah.
It was the following night. So, very interesting.
We'll come back to Barney in a moment. James, Josh, I'm getting my words mixed up. Josh, talk to me about James Wade, obviously coming off the back of winning 2 television titles this year.
Yeah, Wade obviously had quite a controversial tournament, didn't he? He obviously played Seigo Asada in his first round match. Everyone thought it would be Christoph Ratajski, but Asada performed superbly to beat Ratajski 3-2. There was a bit of controversy with Wade because obviously when he levelled up the match at 1-1, he celebrated in the direction of Asada, who looked quite bewildered by it all, really.
Yeah.
And obviously Wade got a lot of criticism for his behaviour, but obviously it turns out he had a hypomania episode. Obviously we know James has got well-documented issues with his mental health, and obviously unfortunately he wasn't very well up on that stage. He got quite a lot of grief in his next match against Keegan Brown. The crowd were all against him. He fought back superbly well from 3-1 down to beat Keegan 4-3.
He did issue an apology though, didn't he, for the Asada incident?
He did, yeah. Obviously explained the incident. I think everyone could tell James wasn't himself up on that stage. He's not an aggressive player. He's not a demonstrative character on the Oki. He's usually very placid, very calm. So obviously we realised something wasn't quite right. But obviously he recovered to beat Keegan Brown from 3-1 down, 4-3 in a great game. But then performed quite poorly against Ryan Joyce in the last 16.
Yeah, it was a game that it was the afternoon I was actually there, and I think the crowd were okay with the walk on and in the early stages, but there was a couple of occasions where Wade threw his darts, obviously threw some good darts, walked off to the crowd before retrieving his darts, and that seemed to antagonise the crowd, and they started to get on his case again after that. But Joyce played well, and he took advantage.
He's a solid player, Ryan Joyce. I mean, obviously beat Anastasia in his first match, then beat Simon Whitlock. He just never seemed fazed by the occasion.
Okay, so that was James Wade's World Championship. Let's now have a quick look, Josh, at the holder at the time, Rob Cross. How did he fare?
Well, we all kind of forecast a real tough opener for Rob Cross against Jeffrey Deswan on the opening night, and it turned out to be like that. Jeffrey Deswan beat Nitin Kumar, Indian qualifier, 3-0, and Deswan produced a superb performance against Rob Cross, posting the second highest losing average in World Championship history. He threw everything at Rob Cross, but Rob Cross was really, really good. He showed why he was a world champion. Fought back from 1-0 down to win 3-1, took out some really big finishes at key moments. So fair play to Rob for that. Then I
think Rob did really well in the tournament to put to bed some of the chat about Rob being a one-hit wonder and never going to reach those kind of heights again. All right, he didn't win it, didn't retain the title, but he certainly put in what I would call a holder's performance.
Yeah, he was brilliant against Jeffrey Deswan. That, in my opinion, that's probably the performance of the tournament, really, because there was so much pressure on his shoulders. Deswan obviously had knocked out Michael van Gerwen in 2 majors this year, and Cross was fantastic, and he was equally good against Cristo Reyes in the second round, beaten 4-0.
Yeah.
It was a sluggish start from both players, but then after the first set, Cross was brilliant and averaged over 100 again. But then fell to a surprise 4-2 defeat against Luke Humphries, one of the stars of the tournament.
Yeah.
After being 2-0 up?
2-0 up, yeah. Humphries reeled off 4 straight sets. I mean, Humphries, he's topped the development tour for the last 2 years, so his quality is undeniable, but he doesn't have much big stage experience. So to perform like he did on the biggest stage of all is testament to his quality.
When Van Gerwen won the title, I saw Rob Cross tweeted him to congratulate him, but he also said, I'll be back for it next year. So Rob Cross remains hungry, I think.
There's also not the pressure on his shoulders. After he came into this tournament as defending champion, everyone looking at him. Now Michael van Gerwen has that pressure, and Cross can kind of go under the radar again.
Yeah,
perhaps.
and I think he said in himself in his interview that it made demands of him that he's just not used to. He said you wouldn't believe what demands being world champion brings. So he won't have that pressure on his shoulder this year, and I think he'll kick on and start winning tournaments again.
And I think we have to remember he's still only his second full year on the circuit. Obviously, he came to prominence from nowhere, really, after his first full year on the circuit. So he's still learning and acclimatising all the time.
Josh, tell me about pantomime villain Gerwin Price. How was his Worlds?
Gerwin in his opening match faced Nathan Aspinall. Hopefully went on to reach the semi-finals. Gerwin was 2-0 up, not playing brilliantly but looking comfortable. Missed a dart at the ball to win in 3 straight sets, and suddenly Nathan Aspinall produced an incredible comeback to knock out the Welshman. I mean, the crowd were completely on Gerwin Price's back. I think we mentioned after the Grand Slam that now Gerwin will kind of carry this tag of pantomime villain.
He's going to get that everywhere he goes now.
Exactly, and I think he panicked a little bit, Gerwin. I mean, obviously the set format, you can be so close to winning and suddenly someone wins a set and you've got to go and win 3 more legs again. And Gerwin just seemed to falter, missed a lot of doubles, was rushing his darts, and Nathan Aspinall just, despite his relative inexperience, he performed superbly well and carried that on for the rest of the tournament.
Sorry, Josh, I was just a little bit distracted there as Serge Aurier has banged one in top corner from 25 yards for Spurs in the FA Cup. So that's going to save me, hopefully, from you two giving me a bashing after 90. That's a great strike, that is. A bit of bend on the ball, lovely. Moving on. Mensur Suljovic, gentle. How did he get on?
Deflected.
Mensur also was knocked out in his opening match. That was a real shock. For me, that was one of the biggest shocks, losing to Ryan Searle. Mensur crashed in 10 180s, which is quite unlike him. He's usually a very consistent scorer, but not usually prolific in the maximum department. But yeah, a lot of 180s, but couldn't find a double. And Ryan Searle, again, making his World Championship debut, performed really, really well, was consistent, capitalised on all the mistakes Mensah made, and ran out a 3-1 win. So Sulovic was another big seed to fall at the first hurdle.
Tell me about Simon Whitlock. How did he get on?
Simon Whitlock was beaten 3-0 in his opener by Ryan Joyce, who obviously went on to reach the quarterfinals. Whitlock just really struggled, was really flat throughout. I mean, Joyce is not the heaviest of scorers, but he finished well, took out his chances when he needed to, and Whitlock just never really hit the heights, averaged about 87 and never really looked likely, to be honest.
Right, let's attack the situation, Josh. We can't ignore it anymore. Raymond van Barneveld obviously got dumped out early doors by Labanauskas. What did you make of the performance?
Yeah, I was quite surprised by this one. Obviously, Labanauskas is obviously a very good player on the BDO circuit. We know his quality, but I didn't foresee Raymond having too many issues. He had a poor first set. Raymond averaged 79. I think Labanauskas came out the blocks firing, averaging 100. But then Raymond sort of dominated the scoring stakes. We just missed a lot of darts at double. I think he missed 4 darts to win the third set at 1-1. Levelled it at 2-2, and you thought he's going to go on and win this now in the decider, but just missed an array of darts at double. I think he missed in total 29, or something along those lines, which is very uncharacteristic of Barneveld. And Labanauskas wasn't that convincing in the final set, but just fell over the line really in quite a scrappy affair.
Yeah, it was. I was surprised. I was surprised to see Barney go out at that stage. Fair play to Labanauskas. He did the job on Barney, and obviously that threw up. Immediately a lot of well, we've had it already, but a lot more discussion on social media about whether Barney was going to take place in the Premier League or not. We'll save that chat for a moment, and we'll come on to the Premier League picks in a second. I just also wanted to ask you, Josh, Stephen Bunting, Stephen Bunting's World Championship, how did he get on?
Yeah, Stephen Bunting was another seed to fall at the first hurdle. He lost to Luke Humphreys. I feel a bit sorry for Stephen Bunting because he's had some really harsh draws in the last few years. Played Dimitri van den Berg the other year, lost at the first hurdle, lost to Darren Webster a couple of years ago as well. And Humphreys played superbly well, averaged 96, didn't miss a lot of darts at double. Bunting came back well. I think the 3-1 scoreline was a little bit harsh on Stephen, but he's had a good year, and hopefully this won't affect him too much, and he'll hit the ground running in 2019 because Humphrey played really well. But it was just so many shocks in that draw. I mean, Joe Cullen was really poor. Yeah, one of the biggest disappointments really was Joe. I mean, he was in that open quarter of the draw, obviously with Peter Wright going out, but he only won one leg against Brendan Dolan. We had Darren Webster going out against Vincent van der Voort. So many names in the top 16, so many established names just not performing. Okay, let's talk about the ladies, Josh. Start us off with Lisa Ashton. Yep, Lisa Ashton faced Jan Decker on the opening night of the tournament, and she made an incredible start, didn't she? Incredible first set, yeah. Winning that first set with 107 average. She was absolutely fantastic. Took out a brilliant 1-2-1 on the ball to win the opener in 12 darts. Jan Decker then became quite boisterous. I think he felt the pressure with the crowd obviously on his back, and Jan's quite a calm character. But he was really celebrating quite passionately every time he won a leg. And Lisa, she didn't play bad. She still averaged 87 at the end of the game, but she just lacked the consistency that Jan had in terms of the doubles and the scoring department. And Jan ran out a 3-1 winner, but Lisa acquitted herself superbly well. And Anastasia. Yep, Anastasia faced Ryan Joyce. Anastasia also started well, winning the opening leg. But Anastasia didn't perform to how we know she can. I think she averaged about 77, which realistically is not going to win too many games at this level. Ryan Joyce was making his debut, but Ryan Joyce finished superbly well, as he did throughout the tournament, really. And Anastasia, she fought back in the last set and looked like she might perhaps halve the deficit to 2-1, but unfortunately she was beaten 3-0. Neil, thoughts on the two ladies' performance in the Worlds? I was intrigued to see how they would fare, and I was really, really impressed with Lisa Ashton. Didn't seem to be overawed by performing in front of such a big crowd, and was excellent in that first set. Unfortunately, she just couldn't keep it going. So I think it was good to see, and I think I listened to Barry Hearn on the radio saying that that will continue with the ladies' entrance going forward, and also the expanded field as well, I think both of them coped very, very well with the pressures, especially Lisa, as you mentioned, Josh. I think she was probably the better performer of the two. What pleased me a lot was I saw a lot of people on social media, and I refer to social media a lot, I apologise, but I did see a lot of people on social media, particularly people who are not normal fans of darts and regular watchers of the sport, particularly females, who were saying, oh, there's two female competitors playing in the World Darts Championship. I'm gonna watch that and support them and cheer them on. And it was nice to get a few more sort of maybe new eyes on the product. Exactly, it can only increase the profile of the ladies' game, which can only be a good thing. And like I say, they both acquitted themselves well. Lisa was the better performer of the two, But Anastasia, we know how good she is. She's a 3-time world champion. She started well as well, to be fair. But yeah, I thought they did themselves proud, and I think especially Lisa Ashton should have won a lot of matches in that first round. She was just unfortunate to come out against Jan Decker, who's a very solid professional.
Josh, any other standout performances that warrant a discussion? Anyone else stand out for you?
Obviously, we mentioned Nathan Aspinall. I think he deserves another mention, really. He was absolutely fantastic. Obviously, a former World Youth finalist. Only won his tour card back in January. So for him to go on and reach the PDC World Championship semi-finals, he's now up to 35th, I believe, in the world. Obviously, rocketed up after winning £100,000 in prize money. I think one player I would like to give a mention to is Chris Dobie.
Yeah.
He was really, really good in his opening match against Boris Koltsov. Only dropped 2 legs. Then he's past Steve Beaton in the second round, only dropping 2 legs again. Then he had that brilliant game against Vincent van der Voort in the third round, 4-3, loads of 180s, really high scoring. Obviously, and then played Gary Anderson and was absolutely brilliant. Hit 15 180s against Gary, pushed him all the way, was 2-0 up, 3-2 up. And Gary fought back in a 7-set epic, but Chris Dobie really announced himself to the world of darts that he's here to stay.
I'll tell you who else who impressed me, Josh, and I thought I had a very good tournament. One of my favourites, Dancing Devon Peterson.
Oh yeah, that was brilliant for Devon. Obviously, he came into the tournament under threat of losing his tour card.
Yeah.
And he had that real kind of gruelling match against Wayne Jones in the first round, which he came through in a last leg decider. But then came down from 2-0 down, came back from 2-0 down against Ian White in a brilliant game. Devon finished fantastically well. And obviously then went and lost to Nathan Aspinall in a really good game in the third round.
And to be fair, I think it was 2-2. Peterson, I think he was looking at 80, and he had he hit a single 20, and hit another single 20, and the dart fell out the board.
Yeah, really unfortunate.
Which we saw quite a lot during the tournament, and I think that was the thing that was the kind of thing that finished him off in the end, because it looked like after having the momentum and losing it, he was about to regain it, but an unfortunate bounce out cost him, I think.
But I mean, to beat Wayne Jones, obviously he came back to win that game against Ian White, and obviously then beating Steve West, who's a very good player. To register those 3 wins, having really struggled for the last 18 months, fair play to Devon, and he's obviously rescued and salvaged his career now.
Talking of dancing darts players, have we mentioned Dimitri van den Berg yet?
We haven't, no. He was quite scrappy in his opening game against Chuck Paleo, an American qualifier. Won it in straight sets but wasn't convincing. Then had a brilliant game against Johnny Clayton, averaging over 104 to beat the Ferret 4-1, and Johnny's been one of the most informed players on the PDC circuit in the last 6 months or so, but then was flat against Luke Humphries. Obviously, they've had a bit of a rivalry on the development tour. Obviously, Luke's topped the development tour for the last 2 years. Dimitri's won back-to-back World Youth titles, but Luke Humphries beat Dimitri 4-1. Dimitri just never really settled, struggled on the finishing department, and yeah, so he exited in the third round.
Okay, well, I think we've had a good look at the tournament there, particularly the winners, the finals, the semi-finals, and some players that stuck out for us. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, at the end of the show, we were told of the Premier League lineup for 2019. Premier League begins when, Josh?
It begins February the 7th in Newcastle, John.
Excellent stuff. And Josh, tell us the lineup.
Yeah, well, obviously the top 4 automatic entries. So we've got world champion Michael van Gerwen, Rob Cross, Peter Wright and Gary Anderson. They're the 4 automatic entries into the Premier League. Yep. Then the PDC had 4 wild cards, and they chose the Players' Championship Finals winner Daryl Gurney, Grand Slam of Darts winner Gerwin Price, Michael Smith, obviously world finalist, and also James Wade, obviously who's won 2 major titles this year. Yep. And then Sky have 2 wild card picks, and they chose the German Darts Masters winner Mensur Silovic and 5-time world champion Raymond van Barneveld.
Okay, first initial thoughts. I'm over the moon that Wade is back in. I'm a big James Wade fan, and I'm delighted for him that he's managed to get in, probably off the back of those 2 tournament wins this year. Who's the big loser, really, Josh, in all of this?
The big loser is probably Simon Whitlock, you've got to say. He's world number 9. He's the only player in the world's top 10 not to feature in the Premier League, and he's the only actual change in this year's lineup. The only change in this year's lineup sees obviously Wade come in and Whitlock come out. So it's 9 of the 10 players who featured last year.
Neil, Raymond van Barneveld's inclusion. We can't get away from it. Lots of controversy. I think we've got some questions in our Q&A section about it a little bit later on. What are your thoughts on it?
I was against the decision for him to be included. I like the sport to be played at the highest level and people to be rewarded for playing at the highest level. And I think for someone that's 28th, Josh, in the order of merit, to be picked is grossly unfair on other players like Simon Whitlock. So, you know, the Premier League is a darting major.
Unranked major.
Yeah.
It's a big event.
I've got an issue with it being called a major, and we had this discussion on WhatsApp, the three of us, the other day. I've got a little bit of an issue with it being called a major, mainly because there's only 10 players taking part in it.
It's a roadshow. It's a glorified exhibition. It's a tour of the
The
country.
Premier League should be the best darts players.
No, you say should be. It never has been. It never has been the best 10. It's only the only 4 people who deserve to be there are the top 4 who are there by rights.
Yeah.
Everybody else is a wild card pick.
I'd like to see something maybe a bit different to the Sky picks, and maybe they ask for the fans to vote on what 2 players.
Don't give it out to the fans to decide.
Barney would have still got in then anyway.
They'll be picking all sorts. We'll have Ted Hankey in the Premier League. Don't ever leave this. Listen, if you've ever watched a television programme like The X Factor or Big Brother or something like that, you'll know that the general British public are not to be trusted with those kind of decisions.
Well, I just think it would be less controversial.
But you're talking about it being a meritocracy, and then you're asking the fans to decide. Neil.
Well, if they're not going to select the best players and they want to issue invites, then let the fans decide. Let the fans decide who they want to see.
The only way to remove the controversy is just to, if you want to do that, just pick the top 10 on the order of merit. That's the only way to remove this controversy. We've seen Gary Anderson though before. When he was 17th in the world a few years back, he got picked. Kim Hybrex was 16th in the world.
How would you like it if next season Arsenal would not pick to play in the Football Premier League and they were replaced with Leeds?
We might win the championship, you never know.
Listen, it is always going to come down to, and this is something we've talked about many, many times on the JDP before, it is always going to come down to money, like it or not, right? Now, Sky want as many people putting the eyes on their product as possible, and all the venues and the PDC want as many bums on seats and tickets sold in the venue as possible.
I think the tickets have been sold already, haven't they?
Well, if you listen to Wayne's interview coming up shortly... Yeah.
You might have some new information on that score.
I mean, obviously I can see why Simon Whitlock is aggrieved a little bit. Obviously, the only player in the world's top 10 not to have been included.
I should think he's not the only one.
But Simon, he obviously reached European Championship final this year, reached 2 other major quarterfinals. Barneveld, despite the fact he is 28th in the world, obviously he's fallen down because he's not playing the Pro Tour as much, and he obviously had a very early exit at the Worlds. But he has reached 3 TV finals this year and won the World Cup of Darts with Michael van Gerwen. So he has won a TV title.
I was listening to Chris Mason on the radio, and he was saying that his appearance frequency is not what it should be, and if he's not performing as many tournaments as other players, why should he be picked?
But Gary Anderson doesn't play any European tours and hasn't for 4 years. So you want to leave Gary out as well?
But he's been successful in the ones that he has played in.
Yes. But you're talking about...
Barney's won the World Cup of Darts. Josh will always throw that one in the mix. Barney won the World Cup of Darts.
He's also a 5-time world champion who's been at the top of the sport for 25 years. It's his farewell year. Everyone wants to go and see him play one final time.
Gentlemen, do you think that Barney's announced retirement helped him get in, or do you think he would have been picked regardless of the retirement announcement?
It's tough to say, really. I mean, I think it's probably strengthened his case because it's a farewell tour, if you like, a lap of honour. Barry Hearn called it. But he's a huge name in the world of darts, irrespective of whether he's retiring or not.
I don't think anyone's questioning what he's done for darts and how successful he's been. But we need to move on, and we need to,
we can move on in 2020, Neil.
We need to let the next batch of players have a crack.
An argument that doesn't sit well with me that I've heard bandied around is, the 2 nights in Rotterdam and they need him to sell out and this, that and the other. They've got a Dutch world champion returning to Rotterdam for those 2 nights.
They have.
Michael van Gerwen is going to absolutely raise the roof when he goes and plays there. I don't accept the argument that they need Barney to sell Rotterdam.
All I was going to say is, obviously, we've seen Rotterdam. This is the 4th year now the Premier League's gone to Rotterdam. Michael and Raymond faced off in Rotterdam last year, and I think 95% of the crowd were all for Raymond van Barneveld. They absolutely love him there. They're all dressed up in orange for Raymond van Barneveld. I mean, Michael van Gerwen, listen, he's a fantastic player. He's a great ambassador for darts in Holland as well. But in terms of popularity, it's all Barney in Holland. They absolutely love him.
Listen, I don't think around this table we're all going to agree, but that's healthy. That's what we're all here for. It's a game of opinions, as is every sport, and I know people listening will have their own opinions on it as well. We've got a couple of questions regarding the Premier League lineup coming up later, so we'll probably return to it. But whether we like it or not around this table,
we do like it.
Raymond van Barneveld is in the 2019 Premier League lineup, and I'm looking forward to it as well. Neil, have we got odds coming up on the Premier League lineup?
Yes, we do.
Okay, excellent stuff. Well, we'll look forward to that starting. We'll throw you some odds out there a little bit later on. We'll probably do our prediction league again, I would have thought, Josh, when the Premier League starts. Yeah, we'll throw that out there again.
Indeed it was.
Yeah, I think, who finished top, Neil?
I think it was me.
It was you, yeah. So yeah, we look forward to the Premier League, and that is your lineup.
I feel happy, won't you call me on the telephone? In the morning, won't you call me on the telephone?
Call the boys on 07739 738 329. That's 07739 738 329 and leave them a message.
Right then, gentlemen, with that in mind, it's time for this.
Cool, what are the odds?
Okay, let's throw it over to our resident odds checker, Anil Connor.
Thank you, John. Okay, so BDO starts tomorrow, World Championship. Let's start with the ladies. We did touch on this in the last episode. Lisa Ashton, even money. I was really impressed with Lisa, as I said earlier. I think that's a decent price.
And she's your pick, isn't she, to win it?
She is my pick, yes. So Anastasia is 9-2.
Josh's pick.
Fallon Sherrock, 7-1.
My pick.
Dieter Hedman, 8-1. And Eileen de Graaf, 12-1.
What about Trina Gulliver?
Trina Gulliver, 25-1.
Is Lorraine Winstanley on there?
She should be top seed.
16-1.
16-1 for Lorraine Winstanley.
I suppose because she hasn't won it before, but I mean, she's had a great year, and obviously as top seed, she's going to be a real contender.
Yeah. Okay, Neil, talk to us about the men's section.
Okay, the men, again, we mentioned this in the last episode. Glenn Durant, even money.
We're all on that one, aren't we?
It's hard to look past Durant, to be honest. It
could
really
be an
is.
interesting double. Ashton and Durant, 2-1.
Blimey.
On the double. Not the sort of value that you look for.
No.
Mark McGeaney, 10-1. Mikael Unterbuchner, 10-1. Looking a bit further down.
What about Andy? You got Andy Hamilton and Wes Newton this year, haven't you?
Scott Waite at 22-1. The Hammer, Andy Hamilton, 25-1. And Wes Newton, 66-1.
Interesting.
Without wishing to be disrespectful, Neil, do they offer a market for the BDOs on a 9 data in the tournament?
I'm sure some bookmakers do, but Sporting Bet, who's bringing these odds, don't have that at the moment.
It was quite interesting. I was listening back to episode 9 earlier on this morning, and it was odds on for a 9 data at the PDC Worlds. And you know, Josh, you mentioned that you found that surprising because there'd only been 7 or 9.
I think there'd been 9 in history,
in the history, but we didn't get one, Josh.
No, we came close on a couple of occasions. I think we had 7 perfect darts with Jose de Souza, Portuguese qualifier. But I thought it was surprising, given the amount of 180s we saw, and obviously the high-profile scorers like obviously Van Gerwen, Smith. You'd have thought we'd have had more opportunities, but no, there wasn't. Do you know off the top of your head, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot, what the final count was for the amount of 180s in the entire tournament? I knew it broke a record. I think it was 881. That could be completely wrong.
Because last episode's challenge, Josh, was heavily featured about what was the record for the 180s in a tournament, wasn't it? And it was in 2017
when Van Gerwen beat Anderson in the final.
Yeah, and I think it was about 740 odd or 750 odd.
I think something around.
So they broke the record this time around.
Hopefully, there was more games. Hopefully, with the 96 expanded field, it was always going to be.
Yeah. Okay. Neil, anything else on the BDO?
No. So let's switch to the PDC, and we've got the Masters, the 2019 Masters, which is where you see the top 16 players in the world.
Where's that coming from, Josh?
That'd be Milton Keynes again this year.
Lovely.
So it starts with number 1 ranking player playing number 16, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So there is an odds with Sporting Bet for a 9 data in that tournament, and that's 17 to 10.
Okay.
For there to be a yes, for there to be a 9 data, and 2 to 5 for there not to be a 9 data. You can also get the odds for the tournament winning double. So if you shout out a couple of doubles, I'll tell you what the odds are.
I think it will be one on double top.
3-1. Josh?
I'm going to say Van Gerwen will win it, so double 16.
5-1. I'll go double 1 at 50-1.
Double 1?
In the madhouse.
Listen, it's not double 1. This isn't Josh's attempt, Lord of the Board, double 1. I don't think it will get down to
Hang
that.
on a minute, I'll beat you.
All right, enough of that. Anything else, Neil?
Yeah, okay, so outright, obviously Van Gerwen is his favourite, and he's back to being odds on, which I think we didn't see for the World Championship.
No,
he was
didn't.
actually odds against for a change, but he's 3-4 to win it. Gary Anderson 4-1. And then a bit further down, we've got the outsiders, Joe Cullen and Simon Whitlock at 80-1. Whitlock with something to prove after being left out of the Premier League. And Johnny Clayton, 100-1, as Josh mentioned earlier. They had a good 2018, the Ferret.
But he's got Van Gerwen first round, which
and
he
does have Van
Gerwen
Gerwen first round. And Darren Webster, 150-1.
What about World Championship finalist Michael Smith?
Michael Smith is 8-1.
Okay, not too bad at all. Neil, let's look a week forward then. After that, we're going to look at the Premier League odds, yeah?
Yep. So moving to the Premier League, we know we've discussed earlier the 10 players that are going to form the Premier League for this year. So before we look at the outrights, because I don't think we're going to see much movement in the outrights, who will top the league? Again, odds bought by Sporting Bet.
Van Gerwen topped it 6 out of 6 in his previous appearances.
Okay, so he's 3-10 to be top of the league. Which player will be bottom after week 9?
I'm sure the bookies will say Raymond van Barneveld.
He is not the favourite.
Not the favourite to finish bottom on Judgment Night.
Gerwen Price?
Gerwin Price, 5-2.
I suppose because he
James
exited early.
Wade, 7-2. And then Daryl Gurney and Raymond van Barneveld, 4-1.
Not Mensah.
8-1. So they obviously Mensah had a.
He was very unlucky last year.
Played very well.
He performed better
Yeah.
than his position in the table
Yeah.
showed up. So I think the expectation is that he will kick on and improve and be better for the experience. So just flicking back to the outrights for the Premier League, Van Gerwen odds on 3-4, Anderson 5-1, Smith 9-1, former world champion Rob Cross 10-1, and then everyone from Peter Wright downwards 12-1 and higher.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the draw comes out and who's going to be playing who on what dates and at what venues. So,
I've got a funny feeling we could be seeing Gerwen Price playing Gary Anderson in Scotland. I've just got a feeling.
Really? Do you think?
Yes, I do. I've got a feeling.
Surely that leans towards the draw being, I thought it was a random thing.
Well, I think it is random to an extent, but I've just got a feeling.
Well, hang on. There's no such thing as random to an extent.
Well.
It's either random or it's not random. So, I mean, are we going to see Van Gerwen v Barney in Holland?
Well, we saw it last year.
Yeah, and are we going to see Price versus Anderson in up in Scotland?
We had it in Wales last year.
Right.
So it could. I think we might be seeing it in Scotland.
So basically what you're telling me is the draw's an absolute fiddle.
Not at all. Not at all. You did not hear me say that.
Those words did not fall from Josh Gorton's lips, ladies and gentlemen.
Just going back, I said the double was 2-1 for Ashton and Durant for the BDO World Championships. It's actually 3-1.
Okay, all right, okay. Lovely. Anything else for us, Neil?
No, that's all for this episode.
Excellent stuff. They are your odds. If you fancy a little flutter, there's some ideas for you. As ever, please do gamble responsibly. And remember, when the fun stops, stop.
Cool, what are the odds?
Okay, thank you, Neil. Josh, at the top of the show, you mentioned that you managed to secure an interview with Wayne Mardle.
Yeah, but obviously discussing the World Championship with Wayne, all the big upsets, Michael van Gerwen's victory, some of the young guns emerging, and the Premier League lineup. So yeah, plenty to discuss.
Excellent stuff. Let's have a listen.
Well, guys, I'm delighted to be joined by Sky Sports expert Wayne Mardle. Wayne, how are you?
Expert, I love that. Yeah, I'm good, Josh. Thanks. Yeah.
Good. Obviously, a few days ago, New Year's Day, we saw Michael van Gerwen win his third World Championship title, beating Michael Smith in the final. Wayne, what did you make of the tournament itself?
If we start right at the very beginning, I was sceptical about 96 players, and I kind of still am. I'm not sure. I think it's too many. I really do. The tournament for me was dragging and didn't come alive till probably the last 32, last 16. So whilst it was a great event, I've known better. But one thing I will say is there's a couple of names there that wouldn't normally have made an impact that did, maybe because the 96 players.
Yeah.
It was great seeing Asada. I thought he was fantastic, Sego Asada, and especially him and Lawrence Ilagan. I thought they played absolutely brilliantly, and I want to see him back time and time again.
I mean, obviously, Michael van Gerwen, it's hard. People have been awfully saying in the lead-up he'd had a disappointing year. He'd still won awfully 18 individual titles, but he hadn't dominated the majors as much as we're used to seeing. So how important was that for him to get over the line and win his third title?
Yeah, this is how ridiculous it is. It was a disappointing year for him, and he hadn't won as much as he had done the 2 years previous.
Yeah.
Me and John Part, we were talking about this, about how important this one in particular could be for Michael van Gerwen. Because when you just look at who he's been beaten by recently in the World Championships, I'm on about in the Worlds. Yes, he got beaten by Rob Cross, but then you're looking on Gary Anderson, then you're looking on Phil Taylor, Raymond van Barneveld. These players were threats and are always threats to Michael van Gerwen because they're proven winners. And Phil's gone. Barney's going to play one more. Who knows how many more Gary's going to play? He says about retiring at 50.
Yeah.
A lot of Michael's main rivals are stepping away from the game, and now he's got that. People have said about the monkey off his back winning this third one. I'm not even sure it was the number. I just think it was the fact that when you've dominated a sport like he has, really, since 2000 and call it the middle of 13, say 2014, only 2 World Championship wins was probably a poor return.
Yeah.
Now 3 seems about right. So, in a way, for me personally, he's kind of back on track. And John Part and I both feel that in the next 2, 3, 4 years, he could win 2, 3 or 4. We really feel that this could be the catalyst and the kickstart to him getting to number 5. All of a sudden, reaching 5, which he's always said that.
Yeah.
I want to reach 5. I have to reach 5. All of a sudden, it's very, very doable.
I mean, obviously, he's never going to realistically match Phil Taylor's Hall of 16. I don't think anyone will. But how many do you think is a realistic target for him, Wayne?
I think 6 is realistic.
Yeah.
I really do. Look, he's winning roughly, call it 50% of since Michael van Gerwen Part 2. Because the first part of his career was up till 2007, then he went missing to 2012. Well, now he's the Michael van Gerwen of now. Could he win 50% of the next 6? I believe so. I believe so. Then after that, look, 6 years is a long, long time.
Yeah.
He may in 2 years have reached his peak, and who's to say? He may not reach another world final. We don't know. All we can do is judge on what we see right now. And at the moment, he is, and I think he proved it, head and shoulders above absolutely everyone, and that's including Gary Anderson, which I've never really kind of said before. Him and Gary, for me, are always going to challenge each other. But I think in that World semi-final, we saw that Gary Anderson, maybe on his day, but when he's not on his day, is not as good as Michael van Gerwen when he's not on his day.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. The B games for Michael are World Championship winning efforts, whereas for Gary, he needs to be probably just on his A game. But do you know what? If Michael wins 3 of the next 5 or 6, yeah, I think that's kind of what he should be aiming for.
And obviously, Michael Smith, obviously disappointment in the final. He didn't produce his best form, but do you think Michael Smith is destined to be a future world champion, Wayne?
I do. I've been banging on about him for a number of years now. I was kind of backing him when everyone was writing him off. Now they're all backing him. I'm not. Oh, what an idiot I am. But no, I really believe in Michael Smith's ability. And he's been saying it, hasn't he? It's destiny.
Yeah.
It's destiny I become world champ. And do you know what? Yeah, I think he will. I really do believe that he and Michael van Gerwen, and he's proven it again, Michael Smith. I know he never won the event, but look at the way he played in some of those matches.
Oh, yeah.
He was absolutely magnificent. And especially against Nathan Aspinall, where, do you know, he could have folded there. We know he's the more experienced out of the 2, but there was a point in that match where I'm thinking, Michael Smith has to be wondering what on earth's going on and why he's not 3-4-1 up when effectively he needed the 93 out to go 3-2 up himself.
Yeah.
I thought he held himself together absolutely brilliantly, I've got to say. And Michael Smith, I know he's bitterly disappointed, but he has to think, do you know what? It's the first time I've ever been in a world final. He got himself back in it, which he did, and then he let it go again. He had darts to win 5 of the last 6 sets. His timing was just off. But this has to be the first of many. When I say many, I mean more than one more final.
No, I completely agree. But we saw a lot of youngsters really emerging through this tournament, Wayne. Obviously, Chris Dobie, Luke Humphreys, Nathan Aspinall in particular. Do you think this tournament almost marks a changing of the guard in darts with the youngsters emerging?
Do you know, I think it does. And I've already mentioned about Phil retiring, Barney retiring. Gary Anderson is said at 50 he will retire. these are the elder statesmen of the game, and times are changing. They really are. The way Luke Humphries dealt with Stephen Bunting, Dimitri van den Berg, and especially Rob Cross, it was mind-blowing for me. You're watching a man that is effectively, he's really inexperienced in big stage darts, but clearly believes that just put him in front of a board and he can beat anyone. It doesn't matter where it is or what the tournament is. So pleased for Luke Humphries. I thought he was magnificent, as well as Nathan Aspinall.
Yeah.
The way Nathan Aspinall carried himself, the way he dealt with being behind in certain matches. Gerwin Price, when he was behind there, he fought back. But do you know what? I really thought that the game that I know he lost against Michael Smith, but the way that Nathan Aspinall dealt with Devon Peterson, I thought was superb, because he had a lot of pressure on him in that game. It was the man that had beaten Gerwin Price has now created an opportunity for himself, and he lost more legs than he won against Devon, but it was all about the timing. He won the big legs, and in the end, Nathan Aspinall losing in the semi-final, Luke Humphries in the quarter-final. Didn't they do themselves justice? I thought they played brilliantly.
Oh, certainly. We saw a lot of big seeds struggling this year, Wayne. It was a World Championship of shocks. I mean, obviously Peter Wright, Gerwin Price, Sulovic, Simon Whitlock, Barney as well. Which exit surprised you the most?
Well, there was two, actually. Labanauskas, we know that he's capable. We knew that. But I was surprised at how poorly Barney played. He didn't look at the races.
No, he didn't.
So maybe watching it, that was not so much a surprise, but it was if you're just looking at the names beforehand. I didn't think he would deal with Barney. No. But the two others that really surprised me was Ryan Searle beating Mensur Sulovic. Do you know what? Even now, I can't fathom it out.
Yeah.
Mensur just did not play like Mensur.
10-180s, didn't he?
Yeah, which is not his game.
No.
It's in the maximums. It's not his game. Being ultra consistent and being good at the doubles and the combinations, that's his game. Well, that all went by the wayside. Ryan Searle did a real good job. But I've got to say that the major shock, which was the first shock, was Peter Wright losing to Tony Alcinas. Yeah. And this is more about Tony Alcinas, because Peter Wright played okay. He didn't average 85 and play like an absolute drain. He averaged like mid-90s. But Alcinas overperformed. And that, for me, was the shock that he just carried on. I didn't see him carrying on. A bit like when Watamina had a chance at Bullseye 170 to beat Gary. I thought Watamina was going to fold before he did. So there's a few of them now that believe that they can deal with these big hitters over longer formats. That spells trouble for the seeded players, for the really high-ranked players.
You mentioned obviously about the format, Wayne, the 96 players. Do you think the change in format was the reason why the seeds struggled? Because obviously they were playing opponents who'd already won a game on that stage and acclimatised.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm not one of those. I know there's those out there. I'm not. I believe that sometimes playing a game can do you no good whatsoever. Yeah. There is no way that playing in his first round game like he did, Paul Nicholson, losing to Kevin Burness, and then Kevin Burness having to play 7, 8, 9 hours later. I know he played well, Kevin Burness, against Gary Anderson, but I don't think that's a positive. That's the real long day. That really is. There's others that have played and then they had like 6, 7 days off. So they're starting again. There's a bit like when Humphries beat Bunting. Humphries, it may have helped him, but in general, do you know what? I don't think it matters one jot. I just think that whoever plays better on the day wins, whether you've won a game or not. I'm not too sure. Look at Rob Cross, the way he dealt with Jeffrey Deswan.
Yeah, very impressive.
That was the world champ playing his first round game against someone who'd already played. The guy who already played magnificent but got beat. There's a narrative there for anyone. For anyone that wants to make one up, there's a storyline there somewhere. Me personally, I don't believe that anyone that played a game previously had that much of a heads up, if any heads up, if any kind of foothold up on a player that that was about to play again. Alan Taven playing Michael van Gerwen. He'd already beaten Ray Smith. Do I believe he played better because he'd already beaten someone, Taven? No, I don't. No.
Yeah.
No.
And obviously, just finally, Michael, after Michael van Gerwen's victory in the World Final, we saw Barry Hearn announce the Premier League lineup.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was a little bit of controversy with Raymond van Barneveld's inclusion, but I mean, obviously, as a Barney fan myself, I was quite pleased with it. What do you make of the Premier League lineup?
Well, what I think where people have got to calm down, they really have got to calm down. They have to realise that Barney's in for a few reasons, but the main reason is that he is retiring as a professional darts player.
Yeah.
At the end of next year, at the end of this year, sorry. At the end of this year, he's playing one more Worlds, the 2020 Worlds. So that's the reason he's in. He's not in because he's had a great year. He's not in because he deserves it over the year's play. People have got to forget that it's not about his performances over the last year. He's not picked on that. He's picked because it's his last year on tour. Yeah. And it's like a farewell tour. He puts bums on seats. He makes people sit there on their sofa ready with a can of beer or a black coffee with a custard cream. He makes you want to watch. And all the others, they can moan as much as they like. It's what Raymond has done for the world of darts leading up to this. If he was as successful, and I say successful, or as unsuccessful as me, he would not have been picked. Oh, Wayne Mardle's retiring from the world of darts. Oh, right, great, superb. Right, who's the 10 in the Premier League? Yeah. Raymond van Barneveld's retiring. Right, okay, put him in. He's getting that. This is his farewell tour. There's a massive difference. These people that are on the anyone else bandwagon. They've got to think about why Barney's been put in. It's not because of his performances over last year. It's because he's won 5 world titles. It's because he's had a rivalry with Michael van Gerwen and Phil Taylor, and he can beat absolutely anyone on his day.
Exactly,
he's a former Premier League champ. People have got to calm down here. They've got to realise why he's in.
Well, also, obviously, he beat Michael and Gary in last year's Premier League. And obviously, the Rotterdam, it just wouldn't be the same, would it, going to Rotterdam without Raymond van Barneveld?
No, exactly. And look, the PDC and Sky Sports, they've got it about right. They've got to make people watch from their sofas, and they've got to make people want to buy tickets. And all this nonsense, and I'm reading it on Twitter and any social media platform, all the tickets are sold out already. So it doesn't matter who they pick. That is absolute rubbish. That's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. I can guarantee you, of all the venues, probably, I'm saying probably, I'm not guaranteeing anything at all. Don't even know why I said guarantee. But most of them will be selling tickets up to on the day.
Yeah.
Most of them will be. So all this rubbish about the tickets are all sold out, they're not. Barney will sell tickets. He will help fill these arenas. Who wouldn't want to see Barney in his last year as a professional darts player? Look, I'm glad he's in it.
No, me too. I think it should be a great Premier League, like I say. I mean, we've got 9 of the world's top 10, and Barney, on his day, I think his ranking doesn't reflect his ability. I think that's for sure. So.
Yeah, of course. He hardly turns up nowadays, but you look at those that are in it. They're winners, aren't they?
Exactly.
They're those that are achieving.
Well,
and Barney's one that's achieved. He's achieved.
I think Matt Poulter, I saw an interview with Matt Poulter the other day, and I think he said all the 10 players I think there's been 10 TV winners in 2018. And obviously Raymond was one of them with a World Cup with Michael van Gerwen, so they're all proven winners. So I think
that's right.
So it should
that's
be
right. And you look at some of them where people think, Mensur Suljovic has won nothing. He won a World Series event. He was part of the match that, in my opinion, was the match of 2018.
Yeah, that match play final.
And that was the World Match Play Final. Do you know what? I still watch that on a regular basis. And do you know what? I still cry. I can't help it. I get like this. I still cry at Gary and Rachel and Ty and Chayley. I still kind of... I see Gary on the stage with Ty, and it makes me well up every time, knowing that they've been there for a week competing, and family means everything to some of these guys, especially Gary. And just watching him triumph and watching Mensur behind the scenes after he got beat, and he was so gracious. It was just, from start to finish, it was a magnificent game. Do you know, I'm going to go and watch it when I get off the phone to you.
No, it was a brilliant... It's what sport's all about, isn't it? It was a brilliant game.
Do you know, it was so hard to call a winner.
Yeah.
Oh, Gary will win it. Oh, Mensah's in front. Right, okay. And when he had that dart fall out the bullseye, Gary, you're thinking, is this the only dart he's ever going to have to win the match play? Because bearing in mind, he'd never won it, and that was for the Triple Crown. It was a massive event for Gary Anderson. After having 2 darts against him as well, against Joe Cullen. Oh, it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant viewing.
No, it certainly was, Wayne, and many thanks for your time, Wayne. I really appreciate it. It's going to be a great Premier League. It was a great World Championship, and I look forward to seeing you back on our screen very soon. Yeah,
I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to seeing you as well, Josh, and I hope everyone enjoys the year ahead.
Perfect. Many thanks, Wayne. Take care, mate.
Pleasure, mate. Bye, mate.
Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry.
Absolutely love listening to Wayne. He's always value for money. Joshua, you only have to throw a couple of words Wayne's direction, and he'll talk and talk and talk, won't he?
Oh, definitely, John. I think what comes across in all interviews Wayne does, but obviously that one there as well, with his enthusiasm for the game, his passion. He absolutely loves it, and he's a brilliant ambassador for darts.
Neil, Wayne kicked off the interview there, very plainly stating and not beating around the bush that he felt that too many entrants in this year's World Championships.
I think I share the view with him. It can become a bit tiresome after a while, and I remember last year with the field that had a lower number in it. By the time I got to the semi-finals and finals, feeling it had been dragging. So I stayed away for the first few days this year. I'm personally not a fan either.
Josh, what are your thoughts on the number of entrants this year?
I can understand roughly what Wayne was saying and what Neil's saying. It definitely does feel like a very long event. Obviously, afternoon sessions, we had 16 days. But I thought the quality was actually very good. Obviously, you mentioned there, like Sego Asada and Lawrence Salagan. I thought the actual standard of play was actually very good, although there's a lot of players playing a game. They're not having a game for about 7 or 8 days. So it almost feels like 2 tournaments in one. So I can understand people's views on that.
And Wayne was very forthcoming with his praise for some of the players. Particular shouts out from Wayne for Humphries and Aspinall. Yeah,
obviously 2 young guns who are very talented players and really came of age at the World Championship. I mentioned about a changing of the guard, and I think we're going to see that. He mentioned Raymond's retiring. We've had Phil Taylor, Gary Anderson, how long he's got left, so we could see a new era coming.
Neil, Wayne stated that he feels that Michael van Gerwen can win a minimum of 6 in his career, and wouldn't be surprised if he won 50% of the next 6 tournaments to take him to that 6.
Yeah, I think 6 is a very achievable target. I have something in the back of my mind. I could be wrong. I'm sure Michael van Gerwen said he was targeting Taylor's record, but I just can't see that.
I'm not sure. I think I heard him say he wanted 8. I think half of maybe Phil's record.
No, I think even 8 would be achievable.
Wayne mentioning, Josh, that he was probably most shocked by Mensah Sulevic's exit.
Yeah, I was there at the A-Pally that night, and I couldn't believe it either. I mean, Ryan Searle's a talented player, but Mensah's so consistent usually. Although he hasn't got the best of records at Ali-Pally, I mentioned it. He's never gone to reach the quarterfinals here, and it's just a poor record he has, Mensah, at this tournament for whatever reason.
The biggest revelation, Josh, for me from that interview, Wayne Mardle loves a custard cream.
He does, yeah. Who doesn't love a custard cream, though,
John? John clearly does.
I love a custard cream.
Now.
Come on in, let's go around the table. Neil, favourite biscuit?
Chocolate bourbon.
Chocolate bourbon.
It's got to be digestive for me.
Digestive.
Plain.
I like a dark chocolate digestive, but custard cream's up there for me. Neil, we can't ignore the fact that Wayne did speak about the ticket sales for the Dutch events and said it's a nonsense that they're already sold out.
He did. As I say, mixed stories coming out as to regarding what the situation is regarding tickets. Love Wayne, love his enthusiasm. Don't always agree with him, and I don't agree with him about RVB.
Controversial. We'll let you and Wayne argue that one out. Probably on Twitter. I believe Wayne's back on Twitter now, Josh.
Yeah, I think he had a little bit of a hiatus over the Christmas period, but he's back on now, which is awfully great because he always brings us really interesting and funny content. Usually about his dog as well, Sherlock. He loves his dog.
Excellent stuff. Wayne, thank you so much for coming on the JDP and talking to Josh. Always appreciate your input, and you're always welcome on the show, buddy. Thank you.
You're listening to Josh's Dartistry. Don't forget, you can check us out on Facebook by going to the Josh's Dartistry page. You can follow us on Twitter @Josh's Dartistry, or go to the website www.joshisdartistry.com for the latest news and insight to the world of darts. You can also leave us a comment or a question via our voicemail box. Just call 07739 738 329. Leave us a message and we may play it on air. Now back to the show.
Hi, it's Adrian Lewis, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry podcast.
Okay then, folks, it's now time for Challenge Josh. Challenge Josh. Okay then, let's hand you over to a resident quizmaster, Mr. Neil Connor.
Thank you very much, John. Back by popular demand for this episode is something we did in episode 2.
Oh my word, that's going back a bit.
Do you remember what that was, Josh?
Was it when you were making those ridiculous noises?
He does that. He doesn't need Challenge Josh to do that.
You remember?
I remember vaguely, yes.
What do you think it is then?
It's when you start humming walk-on tunes, isn't it?
Not humming, Josh.
Not humming.
Not humming. So you are correct. It is to do with walk-on songs. So the format will be 15 questions as always. I will read the lyrics. A lot of them are from choruses, but not all of them. And you will tell me which darts player that walk-on song has been used for or is used for. So I don't want any controversy as last time.
Yeah, we had a couple of incidents last time when Josh was telling us that it's used by more than one person, and it led to all sorts of stewards' inquiries.
Exactly. So they've either used it or they are using it. Okay.
Okie doke.
It's actually a challenging one for me this week because when I did print off some of the lyrics earlier, they're not the easiest to get out. So
Oh, lovely. That sounds encouraging.
Will you be doing any woof noises, Neil?
there'll be no woofing.
I think you reached your greatest ever peak on this podcast with
Yes.
your series of woofing.
As
It's all
I said,
been all downhill since then.
Back by popular demand, I think the woofing was a major part of that.
Okay, Josh, so 15 questions. We've done this format before.
Yep.
Last episode, I think you got 2 wrong. I think you got
More, I think.
I think I got 11 last time.
11. Really? I thought it was only 2 or 3.
Well, no, it might have been.
notes.
No, it might have been. Yeah, I think I only did get a couple.
Anyway,
wrong, yeah.
the fact remains, you need to pull your socks up, mate. All right, we're looking for a clean sweep across the board on this one,
I
aren't
doubt
we, Neil?
this will happen.
You need to redeem yourself after a pretty poor effort last time.
Poor effort. I thought it was quite strong, to be honest.
Okay, Neil, are we ready with question number 1?
Question 1. Yeah, que no pa la fiesta.
It started already.
Don't stop the party. Yeah, que no pa la fiesta. Don't stop the party.
Peter Wright.
That is correct.
Don't stop the party by.
Don't know.
Don't know who the artist is on that one.
No.
Do you, John?
Don't stop the party. Hey, yeah. Oh, what's the guy's name?
And that's what we're asking.
Don't stop the party. Is it the guy who sang
He doesn't answer
Tonight
clues.
and everything
Anyway,
tonight?
so
Pitbull, you mean?
Pitbull, that's the one. Pitbull. Yeah, Pitbull.
it is, yeah.
Who thought I would be the font of musical knowledge?
I wouldn't.
Good,
I would
job
go
it's
that
not
far.
challenge John, and that's just
Can I, before we continue with Challenge Josh, I'd just like to give the loyal JDP listeners an update. Tottenham won 7-0 this evening, just in case you were
Nobody
wondering.
cares.
Question 2. Freed from desire, mind and senses purified. Freed from desire, mind and senses purified. Freed from desire, mind and senses purified. Freed from desire.
This is a tough one because all the international qualifiers who play their first game come out to this.
Will Griggs on fire. Your defence is terrified. Will Griggs
know
on
the song.
fire. La 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 la.
But how many? There could be 1,000, Neil. They all come on to this. First round, the prelim players who haven't got a walk-on song, they all walk out to this.
There is one particular player
I think,
that does use this.
but does he anymore?
Well,
I think he still uses it.
according
I think
to
he
my
still uses
source and the PDC TV website.
Joe
Yeah.
Cullen?
it. That is correct. Well done, Josh.
By
I know.
Oh, I should know this.
I know. I know.
tell us, John.
I know. Gala.
Correct.
That's it, yeah.
Whoop whoop.
Okay, we're doing well. 2 out of 2. Question 3. Easy one. Go, go. Go, Johnny. Go, 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 go, go.
Johnny Clayton.
That would be my walk-on song if ever I made it to the professional tour.
And it is, John?
That is Johnny Be Good by Chuck Berry.
Correct.
One of my all-time favourite songs, so much so that I have it tattooed on my arm.
Very nice. Okay, moving on. Question 4. Bow down to the... Bow down to the king. Bow down to the... Bow down to the king.
Mervyn King.
That is correct. Can you tell me who that's by, Josh?
No, I can't.
It's by Motorhead. And Neil, can you tell me who else uses that as an entrance music?
Are we talking WWE?
It's Triple H, isn't it?
It is Triple H.
It is Triple H, yes.
Bow Down to the King, yeah. He often uses it during his WrestleMania appearances. So for any wrestling geeks out there, that's you covered for this episode. Neil, what question are we on?
Question 5.
And is he got 4 out of 4 so far?
He has, he's doing well.
Okay, question 5, here we go.
Gold. Always believe in your soul. You've got the power to know. You're indestructible. Always believe in, because you are gold.
Andrew Gilding.
That is correct, Goldfinger.
And the song is, and the artist?
He's furiously scribbling on
What's
the
that,
pad. He wasn't even paying attention. So the song is called
Gold.
and the artist is
I should know this, actually. I don't know.
Gold. Always believe.
Oh, it's,
in your
oh,
soul.
flipping hell.
You got the power to know.
Martin Kempf.
You're indestructible.
Spandau Ballet.
Always believe. Yeah, Spandau Ballet. Well done.
Question 6.
Here we go.
If it hadn't been for Cotton Eye Joe, I'd been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe.
What exactly are you writing down on your pad?
Nothing there. Is it Joe Mernon?
Ta-da, I'm in for Cotton Eye Joe.
Well done. As with a lot of these, the clue is in what I read out.
So the song's called
Cotton Eye Joe?
by.
I'm not sure.
Oh, that's got me. I think I should know. Cotton Eye
Yeah,
Joe.
I know I should do, but I can't think.
Cotton Eye Joe, I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe. Oh, the Rednecks. Is it Rednecks?
I'm just checking. I think it is.
I'm sure it's Rednecks, but I think it's Redneck spelt with an X at the end as opposed to the regular spelling of necks. If you could just check that out for me, Neil, I'd appreciate it.
Rednecks, Rednex.
Come
Good
on.
call, John.
Great
Good call.
knowledge. Great knowledge. So that's how much? 6 out of 6 is that?
6 out of 6.
Excellent start, Josh. Keep it up. I'm banking on 15 out of 15. Here we
Oh,
go.
I don't know.
Question 7. My music hits me so hard. Makes me say, oh my Lord, thank you for blessing me. With a mind to rhyme and 2 hype feet, it feels good when you know you're down. A super dope homeboy from the Oak Town. And I'm known as such, and this is a beat you can't touch.
I think he's in trouble, Neil. I think he's in trouble.
You can't touch. Oh God, I don't know.
I don't know why you're looking at me.
You are. Keep thinking on those
I'm
lines,
thinking
mate.
can't touch this.
You're not going to get any help.
Oh, it's stumpy this one.
Do you want me to read it again?
You can do, yes please.
Let's stop that. Go on.
My music hits me so hard, makes me say, oh my lord, thank you for blessing me. With a mind to rhyme and 2 hype feet, it feels good when you know you're down. A super dope homeboy from the Oak Town, and I'm known as such, and this is a beat, you can't touch.
What was that noise right at the end? Have you got something stuck in your throat?
It was my disgust at how long this is taking.
I thought you had a bit of phlegm at the back there that you needed to bring up. Right, Josh, over to you. What we thinking?
I can't think really. I'm gonna guess, complete guess, Andy Hamilton.
That is absolutely fantastic, Josh. Well done. Well worked out. Can you tell me, before Neil gives us the official answers, I know the answer, can you tell me how you've arrived at that?
I just thought the last bit, you can't touch, it's like the... Hopefully that's... I just know that bit of Andy Hamilton's walk-on song.
And the song and the artist?
I'm not sure, actually.
So the song is You Can't Touch This.
Yeah.
Can't Touch This. Do, 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 by MC Hammer.
Andy
And
Hamilton.
there's the link. Andy Hamilton is obviously known as the Hammer. But he got it nonetheless, Neil. I'm impressed with that. Very, very good. Very good. Let's try and trip him up on the next one. Here we go.
Ruby, 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 Ruby. Do you know what you're doing to me? Ruby, 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 Ruby. And when I was putting this together earlier, my daughter is called Ruby and she asked me to give her a shout out. So here it is. Hello.
Shout out to Ruby.
Hello, Ruby. And that is Roby John Rodriguez.
Yeah, of course it is. Correct.
Song and artist?
Ruby, 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 Ruby.
I don't know who it's by.
Ruby, Ruby. He's by the Kaiser Chiefs, I believe.
Correct.
Point for me. Okay, Neil, how many has he got right so far?
8 out of 8.
8 out of 8. So we're more than halfway through, and 100% so far, Josh. So the record is still intact.
I can see a full house.
The Invincibles for this episode, not like Liverpool.
Can we not go?
Okay, let's move on. Next question, please, Neil.
Nah.
So I just lose it every time Neil doesn't put together real words. Sorry, start again. That's very unprofessional of me.
I have to talk it through.
I know you do. You read it. you read it with no inflection in your voice whatsoever. It's brilliant.
Nah. Baby, give it up. Give it up. Baby, give it up. Nah. Nah. Go on.
Oh, I could be really harsh and say, can you repeat that, please, Neil? But I won't inflict that on you.
I love the way you were waiting for him to complete it.
Yeah. Vincent van der Voort.
Of course it is. That is correct. Can you give me the song title and the artist?
Give it up in it, but I'm not sure by who sings it.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this one. I should know this. I'm thinking. I want to say something like Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Correct.
Oh, what a good shout.
Boom, a wallop. Okay, excellent stuff. 9 out of 9.
Yep. Question 10. Play that funky music, white boy. Play that funky music right. Play that funky music, white boy. Lay down that boogie and play that funky music till you die. Till you die.
Ian White.
Said with an air of arrogance.
Absolutely. So, how did you get that one, Josh? What was your association? Do you just know the song? Or?
Yeah, it's one of them I just know off the Ian White's walk-on song. It's just a common sort of knowledge to me.
So the song is Play That Funky Music. Who's it by?
Good question. I know the song names. It's just the artist I can't get.
John, do you know?
I should know that because we do that in my band. You can follow us on Twitter at Roundabout Zoo. Available for hire, weddings, parties, and bar mitzvahs. Play that funky music, my boy. No, can't think of it.
Wild Cherry.
Oh, I knew that. I blimmin' knew that. Anyway, 10 out of 10, Neil.
10 out of 10.
So 3/4 of the way through, and is that 3/4? No, that's not 3/4.
2/3.
2/3.
2/3. Maths is terrible. Let's move on to question number 11.
Born in the USA. I was born in the USA. I was born in the USA. born in the USA. Very famous song. Very famous artist.
Very famous dance player as well. You were almost singing then, Josh. That's the closest we've ever got to you singing on the show.
I know, I'm just trying to recreate the song in my head. It's a tough one, this. No, it stumped me, this one, I've got to admit. I know the song. Can't put it to a darts player, but I'm going to guess at an American darts player. I could be completely off. I'm going to guess Larry Butler.
Absolutely fantastic. That is a great guess. Well done. Well, yeah, because there's a few American darts players you could have gone for, but gone for a prominent one. The song title, Josh, is
Born in the USA.
Born in the USA by...
Good question.
Oh, these kids. These kids are so disappointing.
Bruce Springsteen.
The boss.
Ah, Bruce Springsteen. Legend.
Okay, let's move it on to question. Do you know what? I don't know how he's got 11 out of 11. He's sort of stumbled and bumbled his way through these a little bit. So I hope the last
They
four
say
are going to...
the sign of a good team is when they're not playing well, John. And that's...
Yeah.
I'm about to stumble and bumble through this. Look, this is a stitch up. Question 12. Samina Mina A. Waka Waka A. Samina Mina Zangaliva Anawa A. Samina Mina A. Waka Waka A. Samina Mina
Josh is in bits.
Zangalua, this time for Africa.
Yo, can you repeat that?
I would like that repeated, actually. I think that's... you're not quite sure, are you, Josh?
No, I couldn't inflict that on Neil because he's still got the power to whatever. Anyway,
Yes, I have.
Devon Peterson is the answer.
Correct. The song is?
Waka... Oh, what is it?
What's your language? It's a family show.
Is it Waka Waka?
Yep.
And it's Shakira sings it, didn't she?
It is. She's married to Gerard
PK, yeah.
Devon Peterson, if you are listening, I would just like to apologise on Neil's behalf for his pronunciation. That was pretty dreadful. What are we, 12 out of 12?
12 out of 12.
Okay, let's move on to number 13.
They don't get that much harder either. Okay, these are crazy, 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 crazy nights. These are crazy, 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 crazy nights.
Wes Newton.
Yeah, of course it is. Crazy Nights. Artist, Josh.
I should know. I like this song. I can't think of the artist.
He
It's
says
escaped
the
me.
same thing every time.
No, I do like this song, but I can't think of the artist. Put me out of my misery.
Kiss.
Kiss. Okay, yeah.
The guy's in the black and white makeup. Okay, so he's correct again, Neil. 13 out of 13. You've only got two more left to trip him up, although you have got a rather sly, confident look on your face now.
Yep.
So this is question 14, is it?
Question 14. The world is holding back. The time has come to. The world is holding back. The time has come to. The world is holding back. The time has come to galvanise.
Not a clue. It's hard to even have a guess at that one, really. I just don't have a clue.
Struggling.
I will give you, the song title is Galvanise. The group is the Chemical Brothers.
It's got that strange sort of violin bit in it, isn't it? Goes dun 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 dun. The time has come to do do do. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good rendition. Probably get sued for copyright after that.
Would you like to hazard a guess?
I'll have to, Neil, but I can't see me being right. Galvin, I'm just trying to think of any top player I haven't said yet.
Yeah, it's going to be a guess from this point, isn't it? It's going to be an absolute guess.
Darren Webster.
Crowd are not happy, Josh. Crowd are not happy.
That was a real tough one. Who was it?
Maria O'Brien.
Ah, female BDO star. Fantastic. I believe O'Brien knocked Ash. No, she lost to Ashton, didn't she?
Yeah, in the Women's World Championship
the
qualifier. Yep,
qualifier.
she'll be playing D. Tedman at the World Championship, and I'll be sure to enjoy that walk-on.
Excellent stuff. Good. Okay. Yeah, we tripped him up, Neil. Well done. Congratulations. I'm very pleased about that. Always nice when Josh gets one wrong. So 13 out of 14. For a little bit of redemption, Josh, let's see if you can get the final question right. Here we go.
You should get this one. That's not a lyric. Okay. And take your time to trust in me, and you will find infinity. Infinity.
Well, is it? It's not my friend, is it? The Count, Ted Hankey.
Nowhere near, mate. You're thinking well too outside the box with that one.
So the song is Infinity.
By, I'd like to say, Guru Josh.
The Guru Josh Project.
I was thinking
yeah.
Infinity,
Guru
Be On
Josh.
Your Way. I was thinking that with Ted Hankey, the Be On Your Way song. It's not, is it?
That's that dance tune, isn't it? It goes, da, 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 da. Infinity. It's that one, isn't it? Here's my key.
So does that help you?
Infinity.
No, it doesn't actually.
Okay, I'll give you another clue.
We'll play it to him afterwards.
He beat Raymond van Barneveld at
Hey!
the recent World Championships.
Hey!
Darius Labanauskas. Thank
So
you.
we've seen his walk-on recently, and you've obviously erased it from your memory. He's fuming. He's absolutely. He won't even look you in the eye, Neil. He's absolutely fuming that you've brought that to the table. Hang on.
I should have guessed that.
Okay, that's wrong. Neil's beside himself.
There's always a twist.
There is. So, Labanauskas, Guru Josh Project, Infinity. Well, you won't be forgetting that song in a while, will you?
To be fair, I don't think anyone would have got. I don't even think Darius Labanauskas would have got that one. I mean, it's not a memorable song, is it?
Anyway.
Question 15, beware always.
Yeah, it's always the.
I'm
the kicker.
14.
Always the kicker. So, Josh, 13 out of 15. How do you feel about that, buddy?
No, I'm pleased. I must admit, I'm not the best at music, so it's always one that could trip me up. I was a little bit fortunate with a couple, but I'm pleased with 13. But I'm a little bit disappointed in Neil's behaviour at the end there.
That was very devious, Neil. That was very devious. I'm surprised we didn't have this one. This could be Barney's new walk-on music for the Premier League.
You can't kill a classic, the Eye of the Tiger. I was hoping we'd have that one in there, Neil.
Anyway, Neil, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Challenge Josh, lots of fun, as it always is. Josh, 13 out of 15, well done.
Thank you.
And I look forward to Challenge Josh for episode 11.
Challenge Josh.
You're listening to Josh's Dartistry. Don't forget, you can check us out on Facebook by going to the Josh's Dartistry page. You can follow us on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry, or go to the website www.joshisdartistry.com for all the latest news and insight into the world of darts. You can also leave us a comment or a question via our voicemail box. Just call 07739 738 329 and leave us a message, and we may play it live on air. Now back to the show.
Hi, this is Rod Studd from Sky Sports, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry podcast.
Right then, gentlemen, it's now time to have a look at some darting news stories from around the world.
In the news.
Okay, Josh, I think you've got 3 or 4 stories to bring us. Start us off, please, with the news coming out of the PDC European Qualifying School.
Yep, so the start of the European qualifying school, it was on Thursday in Hildesheim. 249 players entered, obviously vying to win a PDC Tour card for 2019. So what happens, obviously, it's a 4-day event. The winner of each day gets a guaranteed tour card, and then after the 4 days, some of the top-ranked players on the order of merit for the Q school will then get a tour card themselves. The opening day saw 20-year-old Niels Zonneveld, we mentioned it earlier. He was the first winner, and we've had another young Dutchman win on day 2. Mike van Gerwen, who celebrated his 20th birthday today. And what birthday present he's got? A PDC Tour card.
Nice to see, Neil, there's some up-and-coming Dutch players coming through, because I think there's going to be a gap at the top of Dutch darts soon that needs filling.
Yep, at the very top, I agree. But we do have a number of darts players, Dutch darts players that are in the top 64 in the world. And we've obviously got the world champion and world number 1, Michael van Gerwen.
Yeah, Josh, let's quickly, while we're talking about Dutch darts, let's look at life after Barney. Let's say, for example, it's the World Cup of Darts and Van Gerwen's representing Holland. Who's the prime candidate to be Michael van Gerwen's partner after Barney retires?
There's a couple, really. I mean, there's Jermaine Mortimina. He's up there at the moment. Obviously, Jelle Klassen, there's well-documented issues there. I'm not sure he'd ever partner Michael. There's Benito van der Pas as well. Obviously, Benito's had a poor last couple of years or so, but the one I think could be is Danny Noppert. Former Lakeside finalist, had a very good year, debut year on the PDC circuit, reached a Players' Championship semi-finals in Minehead at the end of the year, so he could be another one. There's a conveyor belt of Dutch talent coming through. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see. Any other news coming out of PDC European School, Josh?
Not really, John. Obviously, there's still 2 more days to go. Still a number of high-profile names entered, the likes of Co Stompy, Jeff Smith, Madders Rasma, all still vying for their tour card. So I'll be updating the latest news on my website.
And when European qualifying school is done with, I think very quickly we've got the UK Q school coming up as well.
Yeah, starts on the 17th of January, obviously another 4-day event, and there's 2 players per day get a tour card in the UK qualifying school. A lot of entries, almost 800 I've been told.
And if we look at the players that have actually lost their tour cards at the moment, I'll just run down a few of the names. Andrew Gilding, Robbie Green, Kirk Shepherd, World Championship finalist.
Paul Nicholson's another one. Kevin Painter.
Nicholson, Painter, Terry Jenkins.
Yep.
Ronnie Baxter.
Some quite high-profile names there.
Exactly.
They'll all be scrapping to get hold of their tour card for the forthcoming year. Okay, Josh. Nice a bit of heartwarming news over the Christmas period. Obviously, we always get the New Year's honours list that comes out, honouring people from a whole variety of areas of whether it's entertainment, sport, or working in their communities and charities. And I see John Lowe picked up an MBE in the honours list.
Yep, thoroughly deserved, an absolute legend of the game, John. A brilliant player for a number of decades now. Obviously joins the late Eric Bristow MBE. Obviously isn't the latest darts player to be awarded an MBE. Yeah,
really nice to see. Neil, do you have memories of John Lowe?
I do. Going back to the 80s, he was my favourite player. And when I used to play darts, I used to do the customary lick of the finger that John used to do.
Yeah, he was famous for it.
When he threw.
Get a bit of grip and purchase on the dart.
Yeah, absolutely. It worked for him and didn't work for me. But he was a fantastic player, had great battles with Bristow, Della, Anderson, Jockey Wilson, but really, really well-deserved award.
Yeah, absolutely, and our congratulations go to John for that. Lads, there was someone else who picked up an MBE in the New Year's honours list. Anyone could tell me who that was?
Moving on to the Masters draw.
No. And can you tell me who that was?
Gareth Southgate.
Someone else in the same field as Gareth Southgate?
Sir Kenny Dalglish?
No, not Sir Kenny Dalglish, no.
No, I can't.
Harry Kane, MBE. Harry Kane. How do we feel about Harry Kane being awarded the MBE?
Well, obviously, being at Tottenham, he doesn't win a lot of trophies, so it's nice for him to be awarded something.
So bitter. Can't even bring yourself to congratulate him. Okay.
What's he got it for?
Services to his sport. He galvanised the nation as captain of that England team over the summer.
Oh, yeah, galvanised to the semi-finals. Great.
He made us fall in love with... Listen, you would have been chuffed if Barney had got to the semi-finals this year. Wouldn't you? You'd be singing his praises right now.
If Harry Kane has squared it to Sterling, we might well have been World Cup winners.
Move on. Okay, Josh. Draw has been confirmed for the 2019 Unibet Masters.
Yep, I'll run through it quickly, John. Michael van Gerwen, defending champion, faces 16th seed Johnny Clayton, making his debut this year. We've got Mensur Suljovic against Simon Whitlock. Obviously, Whitlock with a point to prove after his Premier League admission. We've got Darryl Gurney against Dave Chisnell. Gary Anderson against Darren Webster. That could be a good one. Rob Cross against Joe Cullen. Gerwin Price against James Wade. 2 pantomime villains, perhaps. World Championship finalist Michael Smith against Ian White. And also a real cracker, this one. Peter Wright against Adrian Lewis.
Looking forward to the Unibet Masters, Neil.
I am, especially that last game. I think Lewis is on the verge of recapturing his old form. So I look forward to that in 2019.
Josh, the Unibet Masters, is that a tournament that's broadcast on ITV4?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep, ITV4.
So we can look forward to Jackie and Chris
Mason, Alan Warren a little, then John Rawlins, Stuart Pike.
Excellent stuff. So we look forward to the Masters. Josh, we noticed on Twitter Simon Whitlock reacted to his Premier League omission. What did he have to say about that?
Yep, Simon discussed his Premier League omission the other day. He said he was very disappointed, reading it here, not to be in the Premier League in 2019 as he had a good year and remains in the top 10 of the world rankings. He said his averages were high and I performed well in most TV events. It's a kick in the teeth, but it will make me more focused and more determined this season.
We did mention on a previous episode, didn't we, that Whitlock had tweeted just prior to the World Championships that he was looking forward to the 2019 Premier League, and a lot of people were asking him on Twitter if he'd been given prior information about his inclusion, and obviously we said that, you know, we doubted that would be the case. We couldn't say for sure, but we doubted that that was the case, and as it's turned out, he has been left out, Josh.
Yeah, I think it was a hint of desperation from Simon, because I think
probably trying to throw
think
his hat
he
in the
knew. I think he was in contention, that's without doubt, but I think he knew his place was perhaps in jeopardy.
Yeah.
And I think he was just trying to maybe kind of remind the PDC that he's there and he expected to be in. But
is he 9th or 10th in the ranking?
9th. James Wade is 10th.
Listen, Whitlock for me still a very, very good player. He probably hasn't ever got back to the form from a few years ago, particularly his World Championship showing. But I'm confident Whitlock will be back in and around the Premier League at some stage.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably had a better year this year than he did last year when he got in before. But he hasn't won a title this year. He hasn't won a major title since 2012. So.
Okay, Josh, any more news items for us?
No, that's all for this episode, John.
Lovely job. Thank you very much.
In the news.
This is Wayne Mardle, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry.
Right then, folks, we are nearly at the end of this episode. However, before we go, as ever, let's open it up to you, the JDP listener, who've sent in your questions. This is Josh's Twitter chatter. Right then, chaps, let's open it up. Josh, I think you got a few questions as well via Facebook as well, didn't you?
I have, yeah, I got 3 this time.
Okay, and I've got a list here of questions that have come in via Twitter. Let's kick it off with this one. This one comes in from PA Hunt, whose Twitter handle is TeachFMaths. Top 5 players of all time. Quite a difficult question. Might need to give it some thought, but around the table, let's put together our top 5.
I'll start. Phil Taylor.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that Phil Taylor's in there. Josh, got another one for us?
Are we going around what individually?
Well, let's put together the JDP top 5. We can have a chat if we disagree on anything.
You got Eric Bristow.
You're going to throw Eric Bristow in there. Okay, cool. I am going to put Michael van Gerwen in the top 5 of all time. Or Neil's bottom lip's gone up there.
No, he was gonna be the one that I suggested. John Lowe.
John Lowe. Okay, that's 4. Josh, give us
Raymond van Barneveld.
You're going to put Raymond van Barneveld.
I think in anyone's top 5 he'd be in. 5-time world champion.
Who are there any other sort of possibilities that we would look to
plenty of candidates
to throw in there? Jockey Wilson maybe, or
yeah, but 5-time world champion, difficult to ignore.
No, I'm not disagreeing, Neil. I'm just looking for an argument because I know you'd you'd love to throw a few grenades in Josh's direction. You're going to put Barney in there as well, eh?
I think he's article. There's a lot of players. Listen, top 10. Obviously, there's like Gary Anderson, for example, Jockey Wilson. You've mentioned there, Dennis Priestley, John Part. There's lots of contenders. Adrian Lewis, even. Okay, well, there's our top 5. If you disagree with us or you've got any others that you'd like to throw in there, do contact us. Just on that, at TeachFMaths, he runs a fantasy darts tournament.
featuring champions from the past and present. There's a list. If you go to his Twitter profile, or his pinned tweet, the draw has been done. And what he does is, the way it works, it says, imagine a tournament featuring the very best players from past and present, all playing at their peak. Who would win? Just for fun, we're going to decide. There will be one match per day for you to vote on. The player with the most votes after 24 hours will progress to the next round. Every day you must remember that player at their finest, e.g. John Walton of 2001, Leighton Reese of 1978, etc., etc. So he posts a game on there every single day. It's a fantasy game, and you vote on who you think would win that game with the player in their prime. And then it all boils down to one winner. So it's a little bit of fun. Do check that out on Twitter. He's a good supporter of the show. So do check that out, and do vote on the daily match, and try and get involved in that. Okay, let's have a look. What else have we got? Okay, next question coming in from Twitter. This comes in from @PDCFan180. They say, bit of a left field question and impossible to answer. However, Neil, I'm going to throw this one over to you. What would happen to darts without gambling sponsorships?
I think sponsorships are an important part of all sports.
Why do you think it is the fact that so many of the darting tournaments are sponsored by bookmakers? Is it because they fit, darts the sport fits hand in hand with, obviously laying a bet? Why don't we see the World Championship sponsored by, I don't know, Coca-Cola?
It's a good question. I guess betting and darts do go together. If you look across all gambling companies' websites, all of them have their own darts category with a number of different tournaments and matches for people to vote on. I do think they go together. I mean, in the past, I think we've had cigarette sponsorship of darting events, and we seem to have moved on from that now to the betting companies. But sponsorship is really important for not only the organisers but also the players. And a lot of players across a number of different sports are reliant on sponsorship to cover their travel expenses, especially where they're travelling overseas. And for some of these darts players, if they're lucky enough to be invited into the World Series, then they're travelling all over the world. So sponsorship's a massive part of any sport for those competing and for those organising as well.
I would also say, Neil, that a large percentage, I'd probably say 100% of the prize money particularly the larger PDC tournaments comes directly from that sponsorship.
Exactly.
And we wouldn't see the amount of money, Josh, involved at the PDC tournament offered this year if it wasn't for these big sponsorship deals.
No, exactly. I mean, obviously £500,000 to the winner this year. Darts is only growing and getting bigger. Obviously, gambling companies are a big part of that with their sponsorship, but I'm sure darts, the popularity of the sport, it will still survive without it, I'm sure. And
on the subject of gambling, please remember, do gamble responsibly, and when the fun stops, stop. Okay, you bears at bear not pair 2 on Twitter, they say the following: should the order of merit be amended in light of the ever increasing prize money at the Worlds, which means that one good competition every 2 years could be enough to maintain a high ranking? How about 100% of the most recent year and 50% of the previous year, counting to better reflect form? Josh, what are your opinions on that?
It's a good question. I think what they're referring to is obviously the World Championship, as we mentioned this year, £500,000 to the winner, £200,000 to the finalist, £100,000 to the semi-final. So you really can have been in darting obscurity really for 2 years, and suddenly one good tournament and it parachutes you right up the world rankings. I mean, Nathan Aspinall, obviously before the tournament, was 73 in the world, whereas now he's on the verge of breaking into the world's top 32. So it can have a massive impact. But the Worlds is the biggest tournament in the world, and surely a good performance at the World Championship should be rewarded. But I think I've seen suggested maybe like in golf, I believe they do like a point system. So rather than prize money, you kind of get ranked in terms of points of how consistent you've been in like 10 or 12 of the big tournaments. I think maybe that's something they could explore.
Okay, well we'll have to see on that one. Next question at Ben on Sports has asked Josh: will Premier League inclusion hinder Barney's chances of qualifying for the World Championships?
Well, I think obviously what Ben means in this, obviously Raymond van Barneveld now being in the Premier League, he committed, I think in an interview with the Dutch newspaper after his World Championship exit, he said he would return to the Pro Tour in 2019, because obviously now he's down to 28th in the world. He's not automatically qualified for the World Grand Prix, World Match Play, etc. And he might not be a guarantee for the World Championship, but I still believe he's going to play a lot of the Pro Tour in 2019. He has to, really, because obviously his ranking's fallen down. So fatigue could become an issue, I don't know, for Raymond, but hopefully with it being his last year, he can really just put everything into trying to qualify for the World and having a good final year. So fingers crossed.
We also had a question from the official Rob Cross fan page. Give them a follow. There's always good stuff coming out of their Twitter account. They say, now that the reigning World Championship winning pressure is off of Rob Cross's shoulders, Neil, what can we expect from him this year? Do you think he'll win majors? And do you think he'll be able to defend the £613,000 winnings from 2017?
Yes, I do think he will be in with a chance of winning majors. As I alluded to earlier, he said himself that everything that goes with being a world champion shouldn't be underestimated. Everything that you're asked to do in terms of press and work with the sponsors is a massive, massive overhead compared to someone that isn't the world champion. So I think taking all of that away and Rob given more time to concentrate on his game, I think he seems reasonably confident. He played reasonably well at the Worlds. I think he's got every chance of featuring late on in the big tournament. So yes.
Yeah, I agree with you, Neil. I think he's had that whirlwind year, picking up the World Trophy. The World Championship trophy. Probably a little bit strange. Pressure's been on. Now it's done and dusted, and it's not in his hands anymore. Yeah, maybe he can sort of relax a little bit and see how he goes in the other tournaments. Josh, Rob Cross, fancy him to do much this year?
Yeah, I think he'll have a good year. Obviously, we mentioned him with winning the World Championship. It kind of came from relative obscurity, really. Obviously, he did well on the Pro Tour, but last year was his first taste of the Premier League and the Masters, and the Premier League's a real learning curve for any sort of player. Obviously, the pressure of becoming world champion was huge on him. I think Rob will have a good year. Whether he can defend 613,000 remains to be seen. I mean, that'll largely mean him having to either win the World Championship or at least get into the final, because, as we mentioned about the Order of Merit there, you get £500,000 for winning the World. So I think, it was 400 when he won it. So he's going to have a good run there. But listen, I think he's going to have a good year.
Okay, Josh, I believe you've probably got some more questions for us, yeah?
Yes, I've got one question from Carter Darts asking me, do I think Rami van Barneveld should have been in the Premier League, or did he deserve to be in the Premier League, and why?
Neil, no. Josh.
I think he did deserve it based on his career, what he's done for darts. He's put darts on the map in Holland and Europe. He's been at the top of the game for a number of years. He hasn't had a good second half of 2018, so he could be deemed to be fortunate, but I think it's a good decision from the PDC.
Neil, do you want to add anything to your rant earlier?
Not really. Just I'm surprised with. I know he was a pick of Sky, but I'm surprised with Barry Hearn, because I listened to him on the radio yesterday and he was talking about the importance of building the game in countries where darts may not be as popular. So for me, maybe there was an opportunity to go a bit left field and look to, pick a player from a country where darts may not be as popular as it is in Holland. So, the example Barry gave was Peru. And they were able to broadcast to Peru, and ultimately in time that will lead to dart players, excelling in Peru itself. But I'm not saying we should, it should have been someone from Peru, but there are other countries where darts can still grow, and there are some very talented players. So for me, maybe it's a bit of a missed
Maybe
opportunity.
that's more the World Series. The World Series is about growing the game globally.
Okay.
I think maybe that's more suitable for the left field. I think Barry mentioned, obviously Luke Humphreys, Nathan Aspinall have had good Worlds. I think Barry Hearn mentioned they may be invited to the World Series events, because obviously that's not the pressure cooker environment of the Premier League, and it still gives them a chance to play against the world's best.
On the subject of growing the game, I would like to see, probably not in the Premier League, but I wouldn't mind seeing more female competitors in some of the competitions.
Well, it's funny you should say that, John. I've got actually one question here from Kate Monaghan, and she's asking, are the PDC going to give the ladies another shot in their own World Championship? They've done it once before, and I think that this time the support will be there, especially with the two playoff spots they did recently. And I think Barry Hearn mentioned that the ladies' inclusion will continue, at least for the next couple of years. Yeah. I mean, the popularity of it, all the crowd were behind Lisa Ash and Anastasia Dobromyslova. Obviously I was working at Sky for the tournament, and the coverage and the publicity it received, the women competing, was huge. There was a massive interest, a massive demand for it. And like I say, Lisa and Anastasia put women's darts, I think they showcased it extremely well, and I think that will continue for another couple of years.
Now, what do you think about putting maybe a couple of females, one or two, in some of the lesser majors, perhaps the Grand Slam of Darts or something like that?
For me, it's not about whether you're male or female. It's about ability. And I think we saw, in particular with Lisa Ashton, that she's quite capable of going up on stage at a big event and throwing close to 100 average. I'm all for it.
But it's about inspiring people, isn't it? A young girl who perhaps wants to play darts will probably be more inspired by watching Lisa Ashton up on the Ali Palace stage than maybe some of the male counterparts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, we saw there was quite a bit of controversy about the Grand Slam of darts this year. Obviously, the BDO had their eight picks, and obviously the World Champion, World Masters winner automatic, and they picked the next 5 players on the rankings. And there was a lot of outrage about Lisa Ashton being omitted. People saying, she's women's world champion, she's won it 4 times, she should be included again. And I think next year, if the opportunity arose, maybe the BDO would try and shoehorn Lisa Ashton in for the Grand Slam.
Okay, Josh, any more questions via the Facebook page?
Yep, got a couple more, John. I've got one here from Jenny Murter. She has asked, with the events of physical confrontations and apparent bullying in the game in the past 12 months, should these individual situations be now seen as unacceptable and the line be drawn? And if this line is indeed drawn and crossed, where would the PDC stand on fines, penalties and or banning of players?
Bullying is a strong word, isn't it?
It's a strong word, yeah. I think Jenny's probably referring to the incidents maybe of Gerwin Price at the Grand Slam of darts, perhaps James Wade and Sego Assad. I wouldn't call it bullying, perhaps. I think it is a strong word, but obviously in respect of punishments, obviously we have the Darts Regulation Authority, the DRA, that they investigate any incidents or misdemeanours, if you like, on a regular basis. So
I saw on Twitter that they were meeting today, actually, to discuss the latest list of any cases against any players coming from the World Championship. So
they could be doing overtime, I think.
I think you might see some news in the next 24, 48 hours regarding that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the DRA, they're quite transparent, and obviously they publish a list of fines and punishments and the players involved. So I'm sure we'll find out the punishments for Gerwin Price, perhaps at the Grand Slam, and whether, well, presuming he is punished, obviously not making any presumptions there. But yeah, I think the PDC, listen, we don't want robots on the stage. We want passion, we want people to celebrate, but obviously, listen, we still want the game to be respected and good sportsmanship to prevail. So I trust the DRA to deal with the situations accordingly.
Yeah, I think sometimes there's a fine line, and players will, to try and get one up on their opponent, they'll try mind games. There'll be some gamesmanship, and I think it's when it goes beyond that it really needs to be clamped down on. And if there are a set of rules that are in place, as long as they're adhered to, then fine. And if they're not, and there are repeat offenders, then they should be hit harder in the pocket.
I think I'll go back to the discussion we had after the Gerwin Price and Gary Anderson final. Yes, we agreed at the time that there was a couple of things that went on that were a little bit unsavoury, but I think we all felt in general that overall darts doesn't really have a major issue with disciplinary and certainly not bullying for my money, and I don't think it's a major issue that needs to be overly addressed.
I think that's why whenever you see something like that, you see such major coverage of it because it's unusual. You don't see it often. Yeah,
it's the exception, not the rule, isn't it? So, well, we'll keep our eye on it, and it'll be interesting to see how that develops, particularly when Price meets Anderson up in Scotland. Well, if that's what's going to happen.
That's just me speculating. I've been given no information on that, but I've just got a feeling it could happen this year.
Okay, Josh, got another question, I believe.
Yeah, one more from Kurt Dexter, and he's asking, has any player ever hit 2 9-darters back-to-back in practice that I've heard of?
Well, I certainly haven't. Neil, have you?
I think we nearly had one in
World Championship.
I thought you were going to say you've done one.
Actually, I've done 2. No, I think Michael van Gerwen nearly did it, didn't he?
Yeah, he had 17 perfect darts at the World against Wade.
I'm fairly certain I've heard commentators in the past say that people have had back-to-back 9-darters in practice. I don't think it's a big thing in practice.
I think it goes on a lot more than you'd imagine.
I mean, I've heard Adrian Lewis hit 3 9-darters in practice before playing Phil Taylor one game, but I'm not sure that was back-to-back or not. I mean, we saw Phil Taylor hit 2 9-darters in one game, didn't we, at the Premier League final? And I think he hit 16 perfect darts. It was 7 perfect darts after hitting a 9, and obviously we mentioned Van Gerwen 17 perfect at the World. Okay,
excellent. Josh, any more questions?
No, that's all for this episode, John.
As ever, thanks to you guys, the JDP listeners, for sending in your questions. Do get them into us for episode 11, and we'll do our very best to answer them. Okay, chaps, that brings us conveniently to the end of the show. Bumperfield show, this one. Plenty to talk about with the World Championships, Josh, and everything that went on there.
Yeah, action-packed. John, obviously, you mentioned the World Championship, the Premier League, obviously Wayne's interview. I'm quite need to lay down now, I think.
Yeah, thanks to Wayne for granting us the interview, as ever, as we mentioned earlier. Neil, good show?
Very good show.
Enjoyed Challenge Josh immensely?
I always do.
Guys, when do you think we will be recording episode 11? Obviously, we've spoken about the next upcoming PDC tournament, which is the Masters.
That's,
we've also got the
February
BDO.
the 1st. We've got the
BDO starting tomorrow, which goes on for
8 days, I
8
believe.
days, 9 days.
Needs to be before the Premier League starts.
Oh
Anyway.
yeah, of course. Well, keep your eyes on social media. We'll let you know when we're going to record episode 11. Ask you for some questions for that. Also, if you want to take part in Lord of the Board, get in contact via the usual places. We can arrange a recording. It'd be great to get you on the show and organise that. Josh, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, John.
Neil, same to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to the JDP listeners, you guys, for downloading the show. Always much appreciated, guys. And we'll see you next time for episode 11.
Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry.